unqualified henchman. That's what The Guardian is, how they're referring to Dan Bongino. So Dan Bongino has accepted the deputy FBI director role. It was an amazing show he put on this morning. He had something like 250,000 people watching live. Very few people believed it at first, to be completely honest. When I saw the news that Trump had said Kash Patel is choosing Dan Bongino for the deputy director of the FBI, I'm like, Dan would have to give up so much wealth, power, fame, celebrity to be a civil servant. Is it really believable? And not only that, but come on, it's like a dream come true. I mean, this guy, Dan Bongino, was on the forefront of calling out the corruption in government. How could we be so lucky? And it is true. He has accepted, and it is absolutely incredible. Of course, the media, Democrats, they're losing their minds over this. You've got the elite class fake journalists who are, for some reason, so offended over what's happening to the FBI. And I'm just wondering what their vested interest in this. And I don't understand why they'd be mad about Dan Bongino. Unless, of course, you realize Donald Trump is dismantling the bureaucratic state and they're freaking out over it. Then, of course, you have Elon Musk, who sent an email out to everybody saying, what do you do? And if you don't answer, you're fired. Now they're complaining about this. And it's the craziest thing that for once we have an effort to clean up corruption in government and restore more rights to the people. And you've got these liberals and the corporate press acting like the opposite is happening. So we'll talk about all that, plus some other really crazy stories. On the lead, of course, NSA, CIA, and other deep state chats leaked. These people were using government chat rooms to engage in, let's just call it adult behavior with each other. We'll try to keep it family friendly, but these chats got leaked, and they're very creepy and disturbing. And then Dan Crenshaw said he was going to take the life of Tucker Carlson, claimed he didn't on X. The video came out. He did. Yo, this is really weird. What happened to Dan Crenshaw? This guy's lost his mind. So we're going to talk about all of that and more, my friends. But before we do, let's give a shout out to our sponsor, Home Title Lock. Make sure you go to HomeTitleLock.com using promo code TIM250. You can click on the link in the description. Did you know scammers can literally steal your home right out from under you? Honestly, when I bought my first house, I thought it was very strange how simple the process was. And they were like, this little piece of paper. The FBI calls it house stealing. It's a growing real estate scam targeting American homeowners. Here's how it works. Criminals will forge your signature on one document, use a fake notary stamp, pay a small fee, and file it with your local recorder's office. And just like that, your home title has been transferred out of your name. Then they can take out loans using your equity as collateral and even sell the property behind your back. You won't even know what's happening until you start getting collection or foreclosure notices. So let me ask you, when was the last time you checked your home title? If you're like me, the answer is never. Well, to be honest, when we got the notification Home Title Lock was sponsoring, I was like, we should probably look into that. And shout out to Home Title Lock. And that's exactly what scammers are counting on. That's why I trust Home Title Lock. Their $1 million triple lock protection helps keep your home and equity safe. Here's what you'll get. You'll get immediate 24/7 monitoring of your property, urgent alerts if there are any changes. And if fraud should happen, their U.S.-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix the fraud and restore your title at no additional cost. Here's the best part. I've teamed up with Home Title Lock to give you a free title history report so you can find out if you're already a victim and access to your personal title report. A $250 value for signing up. Once again, go to HomeTitleLock.com. Use promo code TIM250 or click the link in the description below. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code TIM250. Once again, the link is in the description. And get that protection and peace of mind you deserve. And of course, we are. It is an honor and a privilege. Home Title Lock, thank you for sponsoring the show. As always, castbrew.com, delicious coffee available just for you. And how much you want to bet Ian's graphene dream is gone again? There's 80 bags left. This is nuts. Ian is going to become wealthy off selling coffee. And I don't know if you guys realize the kind of power you're giving him. No man should have that power, especially not Ian. Yeah, but he's selling a lot of that stuff. So what can I say? Ian's Graphene Dream is the fastest selling coffee we've had. And thank you guys so much for supporting Cast Brew Coffee. We're going to have the Green Room show is up now. You can check out behind the scenes shows at rumble.com, become a Rumble premium user. And if you want to watch the uncensored call-in show tonight at 10 p.m., where you as members of our Discord call in and talk to us, you got to go to Rumble, sign up for Rumble Premium using promo code TIM10. So don't forget to also smash that like button, share the show with everyone. You know, seriously, right now, if you're watching and you like what we do, paste that URL, tell your friends to come and watch the show with you. Word of mouth is the best way to help podcasts. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Joey Mannarino.
Thank you for having me. Congratulations, Tim.
Thank you very much. Who are you? What do you do?
So I do political fundraising and I tweet, and I've been doing that tweeting for about since 2018, political fundraising since 2020, and that's about it.
All right,
simple.
Yeah, we've had you on several times before, so
Yes,
it's good to have you back.
It's great to be here.
Thanks for joining us. We got Shane hanging out.
What's up? Host of Inverted World Live. Last night we had the great Richie McGinnis on. We talked about a biolab in Long Island that created chimeras, time travel experiments, and his experiences in the CHATS and at different riots. It was great episode. You can find it at Tales from the Inverted World on YouTube and Rumble now. What's up, Phil?
What do you know about time travel?
I do it every day to get here.
Fair enough. I'm Phil Labonte, the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and counter-revolutionary. Let's go.
Before we get started, my friends, you may have noticed I was not here on Thursday or Friday. And that is because my child was born. And it was incredible. Shout out to Phil for picking up the show without word or notice. It was really funny because, it's like 4 a.m. Allison's like, I think the baby's coming. And so I tweeted before messaging Phil, like, Phil's hosting, and I know Phil's probably going to wake up and be like, wait, what? Like, just look at the tweet.
Just text me the link to the tweet. That's how I found out. I was like, got this, no sweat.
But he knew. I said it before on the show. I was like, sooner, because it was a couple weeks early, but still full term. Everything's great. Baby's very healthy and happy. We're very excited. And I was like, I told you guys, at any moment, I'm just going to be gone. I'm going to be gone. And the only advice I'll give as of right now, as a first-time parent, don't wait. If you are thinking about it, have kids, man, because it is magic. It's absolute magic. So we'll probably get into a little bit more, maybe on the Uncensored Call-In show. I'll talk a little bit about it. On the Green Room podcast we recorded with Joey and Chuck, I was basically telling the whole story of how everything happened. So you can check that out once it goes up in about an hour or so. But let's jump into this news and stop talking about me and talk about you. Here's a story from The Guardian. I love it. Unqualified henchman. Fears rise as Trump names far-right podcaster as FBI deputy director. Now, what I really love about this is that Kash Patel named Dan Bongino formally, as he is the FBI director, and we're big fans. But we all know it was actually Trump. Like, no one's pretending it's not. Dan Bongino had said in the past he would only he would only work for the government if Trump personally asked. Some things are more important. So this is big. Let's just throw away all of the fake writing from the corporate press. We can talk about their smears in a second. But let me just say this. Dan Bongino is on the forefront of calling out the corruption in government, in the bureaucracy, in the deep state. There's a reason why he has one of the biggest podcasts in the world. He has the biggest live podcast in the world, unquestionably, routinely getting upwards of 170,000 concurrent viewers. This morning at 250,000. Now, here's what's crazy. First, let me just say, I've been on a show before. He's been on our show. He's a very straightforward guy. He was a cop for a couple of years. Then he was a secret special agent in the Secret Service. So he's got law enforcement experience, but he's got deep political understanding. So I think this is an excellent choice. It is what dreams are made of for all of us. We were all surprised. Hard to believe it's true. So I'm very excited for what Dan is going to do, because Dan has called out so much of this corruption. The fact that he's there, I'm feeling really, really great. But I wanted to say this. Dan Bongino, with a show as big as his, I hope you all understand. I don't have the hard numbers on how much money he makes, but based on his viewership, I'm spitballing $10 to $30 million, somewhere in that range per year. Here's a man who built up this big audience. He can read ads all day and talk about how he feels with the news. He can be as wealthy as a king could ever dream of. He could want for nothing. I mean, you're talking $30 million a year. This is owning your own private jet level. This is flying around in a Gulfstream, getting Italian ice cream delivered for breakfast. And he said, you know what? I'm going to be a civil servant instead for like a minimal salary. And that to me, I tweeted, people need to understand the sacrifice he's making to do this. Because I don't know that I could, I worked so hard to build this company. If Trump said, we want you to do a civil servant job, we're going to pay you a 6-figure salary, I'd be like, I don't know, man. Like, I walk away from everything I built and all my plans and all my dreams. I mean, I don't think Dan Bongino had his 5-year plan being like, and then I'll stop building one of the biggest shows in the world in my network and go be a civil servant. But I think for Dan, it's very obvious what his priorities are. And his priorities, it lends itself to his show. When he goes on his show and he says, I am sick of the corruption, people clap for him. They say, yes. And then Trump says, want to deal with it? He goes, yes, I do. And so he doesn't care about the money. He cares about everything he's ever talked about that made his show so big. So shout out to Dan Bongino, man, absolutely incredible stuff. But so I'll throw it to you guys so I don't keep ranting on this one. I'm just deeply inspired by Dan willing to step away from all this to do the right thing. But dream come true?
Absolutely. No, I got a text from my dad. He sent me the Truth Social post from Trump. And I said, oh, you got to vet those better because that's impossible. Then I go on Twitter and everybody's talking about Dan Bongino is the, I'm like, what, are we really going to do this? We're really going to do this. So we have Kash Patel and Dan Bongino running the FBI. And you got to think of these things. When you think back to when Trump, quote unquote, lost 2020, right? You would never have had anything like this in 2020.
No.
You would never have had Kash Patel running the FBI. These are not things you can think of. RFK at HHS, Tulsi Gabbard DNI. We had to go through what we went through to get what we're getting now. And we're getting the dream team of all dream teams. These are patriots beyond any imagination. Bongino, if anyone's going to clean house, talk about life insurance for Kash Patel. Kash Patel just became assassination proof. But this guy right here, no, this is going to be the clean out of all clean outs. And Adam Schiff, I would not want to be him today.
Yeah.
He just left the country.
Did he really?
No, I don't know.
Did he leave the
Oh, because
country?
when
Can we take the passport real quick?
Yeah. right.
when they announced Dan Bongino, that was the first thing I tweeted, a picture of Cash and Dan, and I was like, start tracking like those private flights out of the country.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't want to make light of all the bad things that happened because of COVID. A lot of people lost their lives. It was really, a lot of people lost their businesses. But there's a part of me that thinks that COVID might have saved America.
COVID was a blessing.
I
understand what you're saying.
I'm
Look
delicate.
I'm not. Look what happened to the country. We are here now because
Yes.
of the unfortunate circumstances of the world being mutilated by COVID.
I agree with your broader point. Again, I don't want to be insensitive to the people that were hurt, but it really was. It really did wake a lot of people up. There's an entire generation of people that will never trust the government. Never fully trust the government, and at the very least, will never trust the establishment government. Right. So maybe there'll be people that are like, okay, I think that someone like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, I think maybe I'll trust them. Maybe I can trust RFK, and not trust that they're always going to be right, but trust that their intentions are good. If they make a mistake, if something bad happens, you're not going to feel like maybe they did that on purpose, which is something that everybody in America, well, not everybody, but so many Americans kind of have that inclination now. Maybe, it's like, so when you were told you shouldn't wear masks in the beginning of COVID, and then come to find out the reason they said that was because they wanted to make sure that doctors and people that were dealing with sick people had the masks, and then come to find out that they were wrong about that too. They were wrong about whether you needed them.
Ventilators.
Yeah, and the ventilators and all that stuff, and they never actually said we're sorry about this. There was no remorse. There was all the deal with it, close your business, all those things.
They were given pardons.
Yes, 100%
for their action over this period of time. And just to add to your point, Fauci had an interview where he was talking about why you should wear masks. A news reporter said, well, then maybe 2 masks will help. And Fauci literally goes, you don't need to wear 2 masks. But the news picked up the talking point and decided to run with, are 2 masks better than 1?
Yeah, double mask.
And the news media narrative looped back on the CDC, overriding what Fauci had originally said, and all of a sudden people were double masking. It is this mass formation psychosis that ultimately results in these weird policies that ultimately results in a backlash. So I would call it a shock to the system.
Yeah, we needed it.
And now Dan Bongino is deputy FBI director.
And to add to that, like people like Tulsi Gabbard, who was on the Quiet Skies list, now running the DNI. People like Bhattacharya, who was blacklisted for years because of his takes on COVID. Now he's running the I forget what department he's running, but he's playing an integral role that was literally one of the people that had blacklisted him. People like RFK, there's a certain amount of confidence that you can have that these people are not going to be falling in line with whatever the government says. Now, again, they can make mistakes. They are not perfect.
Sure they will.
They will make mistakes. The bureaucracy is still a bureaucracy, and bureaucracies are inclined to make errors. But at least you can safely say, I think that they're not trying to lie to me in order to save face for international organizations like the UN or like the NWO, the World Health, World Health
hearts are in the right.
You know what I mean? So, and that is a great thing.
Huge thing.
So the question I got for you, Joe, is who do you think Dan goes after first? As in who? It could be a person or a group. Is it going to be cartels? Is it going to be?
Maybe it's just. Oh, sorry.
No, it's hard to know. I mean, you're talking about the FBI. You're talking about so many criminals going on. I know we want to see the big names. We want to see the big senators go down. I don't believe that's where he's going to go right away, because it's just not. That wouldn't work. You have to get a big unifying thing, right?
I think
cartels are a perfect option. He could do that. I don't know though. You could see a lot of these gangs that are in here. The MS-13s. Agua. He's talking about that a lot too. I don't know. We have no idea. There's so much to go after.
J6?
J6, justice for J6 would be out of this world.
Well, let me say this. A lot of the moves that Trump and his team are making are indicative of targeting the resources of the deep state, the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
So obviously, what was Trump's quote? Or something about there's not going to be blue states. What did he say? Do you remember that quote?
No. What is that?
Yeah, let me see if I can pull that one up. Trump said something to that effect. I forgot what he said. The leftists were all freaking out. And they're like, this means he's going to attack, a big surprise. What is that quote? I can't remember what the exact quote was, but you've got these stories popping up. I'll just throw this one in there. Where blue states fear invasion by red states and National Guard. Like, these are the talking points we're getting from the left about Trump basically ending their ability to vote, whatever. I call this Donald Trump's march to the sea. He's gutting the resources, USAID, the spending that has circled back and been funding these leftist organizations. So it does seem like, first and foremost, Trump's strategy is, how can we stop them from getting back power?
Yes.
In which case, for Dan and Cash, the first moves may be, why was Trump's home raided? Why wasn't Biden prosecuted? What happened on J6? What did they know, and when did they know it?
That's why I think Bongino and Cash have to go after FBI leadership right away. I've been in contact with an FBI whistleblower since the end of last year, who's been caught up in lawfare against the FBI for like years, and her story is just like Marcus Allen's story. Marcus Allen testified before the Congress last year. And he said they just rule with fear and reprisal. And they were trying to clean house of anyone who might have had conservative values or went against leadership. So, these people are just using taxpayer money to fund their negligence and their lawfare against actual whistleblowers who are calling out unethical practices. And they've been weaponized. The FBI has been weaponized against us. That's why the Cash appointment is my favorite one. I love them all. That's great. But destroying the FBI would be amazing, and rebuilding it to something that it actually should be.
You do have to rebuild it. You do have to have a federal bureau of investigations. But what we have had right now, it's just been a criminal organization.
I did find it. You've got this story popping up all over the place. Trump reveals surprise and warns blue states will disappear off the map.
There are people that believe that he will literally annihilate the states.
Is he going to do that?
There are people that are that crazy. They're like,
hey, all of these leftists, I did this today. I spent an hour just going through all of these leftist subreddits where they're all claiming civil war is coming. Yeah. And the best part is these very same liberal pundits.
We're calling you names.
No. So not only were mocking me for suggesting we were on track to a civil war, talking about, look, I didn't make it up. It's a bunch of articles in the press saying civil war, civil strife, etc. You got a guy, Stephen Marsh, writing a book about it. I'm like, man, this is crazy. And so these liberals, these prominent podcasts are like Tim Pool's crazy. He's always talking about civil war. Now, in their very own subreddits, their very own audience is spam blasting either calls for civil war or warnings that a civil war is coming. And I'm like, I wonder what changed. And all of a sudden you think this is going to happen.
Yep.
I mean, look, I've said this before. If there's going to be some kind of civil unrest, civil uprising, let it be while the conservatives are in control of the government.
There you go.
If it's got to happen, let it be while the conservatives are in control of it.
For one reason, it will keep things stable. Like, when I look at what Democrats were doing in office, raiding Trump's home, falsely accusing him of crimes, I'm like, well, if conflict arises while they're in control, it is chaos and corruption. With Trump and the populist right in control, it's going to be, I got to be completely honest, it's going to be much more to the book. Despite all the lies and everything they want to claim, Trump never overstepped his bounds in his first term. They have no evidence to suggest he's going to this time around. They're claiming already he did because he's asserting the executive branch as the Constitution. This is funny. Trump had to sign an executive order saying the Constitution says the executive authority is vested in the president, and they're all aghast.
Yeah.
Elon Musk says, can you write 5 sentences about what you do? And they're losing their minds.
Hilarious.
Okay, so that's why I look at Trump and his administration, and I'm like, well, if chaos does break out, there's going to be functional law enforcement under a Trump administration and chaos under a Democrat administration.
Yep. And you know, we talk about or you hear people complaining about the email from Musk saying, say what you did. If you dig into it a little bit, you'll hear that there are actually like exemptions. Like Tulsi said, look,
Right.
yeah, you guys that are working in the intel area of the government, you can ignore this. I will get in touch with the president and get in touch with Doge and let them know that it's probably not a good idea for you all to list 5 things that you did considering security clearance.
I still can't believe how mad they are about the 5 things.
It's ridiculous.
That is
5
still
things.
shocking to me.
Let's jump to this next part of the story. We have this from NBC News. FBI agents express shock and dismay over naming of right-wing podcaster to number 2 post.
Fire them all.
This man on a right-wing podcast.
Dan Bongino, who once called the FBI irredeemably corrupt, suggested on his podcast Monday that he was prepped to step out of his role as a MAGA warrior. Now, I just want to show you this tweet from Ken Delanian. I'm so happy, Ken, that your emotions boiled your brain and you exposed yourself as a Fed. I mean that figuratively, not literally. Calm down. Just put your phone down. You're not calling your lawyers. He says, traditionally, the deputy FBI director has been a career FBI agent. That is particularly important when the director has no experience at the FBI. Donald Trump tonight announced he is appointing as deputy director Dan Bongino, a former Secret Service agent and prolific conspiracy theorist. He has never spent a day working at the FBI, but he has spent many hours spouting baseless falsehoods about the Bureau, such as that the FBI lied when they said they don't have a suspect in the pipe bombs as outside the RNC and the DNC on 1/15/21. Current and former FBI officials are appalled and extremely concerned for the national security of the country. Here's how I explain this. This is important, right? This tweet really, I was like, wow. He's got 3 million views on this tweet.
Wow.
Okay. If, you're like, I'm a podcaster, right? If Donald Trump announced that he was appointing a golf czar and it was going to be Michael Jordan, I would go, huh, does Jordan play golf? And someone would be like, he does. He's not like a pro or anything. I'd be like, okay. And that's about it. I'd be like, I don't play golf. Is there a better golf player? Wouldn't know him. Tiger Woods, he's pretty good. Saw him on TV once. Not really much I can be upset about because I have no idea what's going on. So if Donald Trump, and bear with me here, he said he was going to announce he was going to have an Olympic skateboarding czar. I'd be like, okay, well, hold on. Now I'm here. And then he announces it's a scooter kid, like Serge. Then I'm going to be like, whoa, I am outraged. What are you talking about? My point is, Ken Delanian got very emotional over the FBI's structure. So, Ken, you're a journalist at NBC. I mean, you have literally no overlap with the structure of the FBI and literally no reason to be angry at the appointment of Dan Bongino. So what about this completely unrelated professional field and Donald Trump's choice has you so apoplectic that you would begin emotionally deriding Dan Bongino and then complaining in such a manner?
I think Ken's mockingbird is showing.
You know, and the last line there, current and former FBI officials are appalled. If you're appalled, leave.
Well, hold on.
If you're appalled, you should not be at the FBI. Get out.
When he wrote current and former FBI officials are appalled, is he referring to himself?
Yeah. I mean,
his coworkers.
The fact that they leave out his time in New York, the NYPD, and his time in Secret Service, it just shows that they're not looking to be honest. They're looking to discredit. They're not looking to actually inform anyone. They're trying to scare people. They're trying to look for means to discredit unfairly. And so,
can I just point something out too? Dan Bongino was a special agent with the Secret Service. That means he is a man who volunteered for a job where he would use his own body to shield the lives of others. That is honor.
Secret Service under Obama. Remember, so they say, right-wing podcast. He protected Obama for how many years?
This is a guy who took a job volunteering to use his body as a shield for Barack Obama. And they're like, he's a far right. No, I think he's a good dude who deeply cares about his country and is willing to sacrifice wealth and luxury for the betterment of his nation and what he believes in. And I'm deeply impressed. And I look at this post, you got all these stories, we have NPR, what to know about Dan Bongino, but, Ken Delanian's outrage here really reeks of personal involvement. And that's the point. I hope one of the first things we get from Cash and Dan is, to whatever degree they can, right? We want to respect the First Amendment. If these corporate news outlets had any deals or connections with the feds, it will be within the purview of the FBI to release the documents related to that, as it is from their own departments.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I hope, should there be, they do. Who knows? I mean, I think there are, but, we'll see.
It'd be lovely.
These headlines that call him a podcaster and totally skip over his past are like, they do it in the inverse with Soleimani when he died.
Oh, right.
And they were like most revered soldier or leader or whatever.
Or the ISIS guy, and they said I'm austere scholar.
Yeah. It's amazing.
But this is but there's also the inverse in the United States. There will be someone who's a DEI coach, and they'll make up these great credentials. He was an award-winning artist who discovered diversity, and then it's like he was a janitor, and he went to an online course one time.
Right.
They flip it around. So I'm wondering, Cash and Dan, man, where do they go first? And I don't know, man. Epstein files are on Pam Bondi's desk.
Yeah, what's taking her so long?
I think it's fair. I think it's fair.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are saying like, get it done, get it. No, take your time. Take your time. Do it right.
Very curious to see why is that. I mean, most of these people are living, is what I'm assuming too.
Well, so
that's a lot of the problem with the Epstein stuff. These are people that are living.
Cash gave an interview where he said, I think it was Cash. He said, the thing is, most of the answers, he's like, I've seen the JFK files. Most of the questions you've asked, you got the answers.
Huh.
The things that are classified are not related to the questions you're asking. So he's like, I can't really say much more than that. He's like, but they should be released. And so I think the important thing to understand is just because something isn't released doesn't mean it's relevant to the issue we want. My point ultimately is I trust Pam Bondi. I especially trust Cash and Dan.
Yeah.
And when Pam is like, I've got the Epstein list on my desk, let's make sure they do this properly. What I don't want to see is if the story comes out and there's something in it that's lacking context, which misdirects people, it can actually protect the evil. If there's something in there that's, it has to be done properly. And I'm not going to say I want to wait a year or anything. I'm saying like a month or two, let's give them time to go through it and figure out, what's going on. Because we don't know. The question ultimately comes down to, do you trust your FBI? And here's what I'm going to say. I fully expect, I demand, that Cash and Dan will maintain the secrecy of classified and top secret information as required by law and as required by President Trump. The issue is how I feel based on what I know and have researched over the past 20 years is that the previous administration's intelligence agencies and investigative wings, the NSA, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, have been untrustworthy and have classified things for their own protection and corrupt actions. What I want is a proper classification system to truly safeguard Americans' national security. I do not believe the previous administrations were doing that. I expect Dan and Cash to keep things classified should they actually be within the national security. But ultimately, it comes down to this. If Cash walked up to me and said, Tim, these documents I want are classified for national security reasons, my response to Cash would be like, all right, buddy, I'm trusting you on this one. My response to the previous administration is, you have lied so many times, you are lying to me now.
Right. Yeah. There's no reason to believe the previous administration. In fact, there's
every reason to disbelieve them.
Exactly.
There actually is.
100%. And look, the government does overclassify things, and they do it so that way they don't have to answer questions.
Right.
If they can get away with classifying it just so that way they don't have to think about it, they're going to. And that's a culture of secrecy in Washington that really needs to end. Yeah. The idea that the FBI there should be things that are secret in order to protect witnesses and to protect ongoing investigations. But otherwise, like once the investigation's done, once the people have been arrested, once the trials happened, There's no reason for any of that stuff to continue to be classified or to be secret.
Well,
you disagree?
Well, there's challenging things, and like that's why I said context matters. Certain documents in the Epstein case may relate to ancillary and ongoing investigations.
Yep.
So let's say they've got documents where they're like, insert high-profile media executive was on the island with Epstein doing this thing at a party where he said to insert other corrupt pharmaceutical agents on the phone, this, that, or otherwise. And then they say, imagine Cash or Dan as they're like, look, man, we want to give you these names. It could compromise us going after this other criminal in a side case. So there could be reasons. And that's ultimately the big challenge on this one. And that's usually why these things remain classified. The question ultimately comes down to, do you trust the current administration? And I got to tell you, you said it right, Joey. The previous administration, the Obama administration, the Bush administration, they've given us nothing but reasons to distrust them.
Right.
Trump has continually given us reasons to trust him as long as it's not related to something personal to Trump's ego.
Yeah.
Because if it's like crowd size or the carat gold of his toilet, then he's going to talk a big game. But usually, like when Trump came out,
Look, 10 carat difference is a lot. 10 carat.
or the square footage, things that don't really matter that much.
But when it comes to the country,
My toilet
Is it the
15 square feet huge.
Actually, the second biggest and the third most beautiful, but you'll never hear him admit that.
Trump came out in his first term. He gets asked a question, and he outright just says, "We're going to sell a lot of weapons to Saudi Arabia. It's great, going to be great for our economy." And all of these anti-war leftists, their jaws at the floor, and they were like, he just said it. He just came out and admitted what American Middle Eastern foreign policy is.
Yeah.
He just admitted it. And I'm like, yes. And The Intercept called him the most dishonest, honest president we've ever had. Because Trump will bloviate and exaggerate things that don't really matter so long as it's like how tall he is and what is his weight and, like how many strokes below par. Like, it's like, we don't really care, but Trump talks a big game. But when it comes to matters that the people actually want to know about, Trump, he'll straight tell you. He'll be like, yeah, we sell weapons in Saudi Arabia. It's hundreds of millions of dollars that goes into our economy. And you're like, oh, all right.
Sweet.
So long story short, I want to see this stuff declassified. But I do trust Cash, Dan, and Pam Bondi and the Trump administration to do the best of their abilities.
I wonder, Cash being put in charge of ATF made me think of Ruby Ridge. And like, are they going to say like, we're sorry, we apologize for this total mess up?
I have a lot of thoughts about stuff like Ruby Ridge, particularly when it comes to, like we were discussing earlier, a lot of the enforcement, or if I understand correctly, the majority of the enforcement arm of the ATF has been moved to the border.
Right.
Right. And so that is taking them off of the thing of doing things like harassing people for a barrel that's like 2 or 3 inches too short. Right. And that was the whole pretense of Ruby Ridge. Right. If it wasn't for the NFA, that family wouldn't have been killed.
Yeah.
And so these kind of laws do matter, right? The idea that, the barrel on your rifle is too short, or you have a silencer that the serial number is scuffed on. Right. And that's the kind of stuff that the ATF would absolutely have picked people up and ruined their lives for. Yes. The ATF does not exist in order to destroy the lives of otherwise law-abiding Americans. These are registration issues. These are not about people that are intending to be criminals. If you have a rifle that has a barrel that's too short, or a shotgun that has a barrel that's too short, that is not some kind of evidence that you're intending to do a crime.
But there was that one video that went viral where the ATF guy got arrested by local cops.
And good.
He was trying to. He was like, he didn't have a warrant or anything. He went to someone's house to ask him, and he wouldn't leave. And the cops were like, "Bro," and then he resisted arrest. But I should, I was trying to think about what this feels like with Kash Patel, and it feels like all throughout the year you were telling your parents like you really just wanted a PS5 for Christmas. And then finally, a few months out, they're like, we're going to get you a PS5, and you're freaking out. And then when you open it up, not only did they get you the PS5, they got you the deluxe bundle with a bunch of pre-downloaded high-end games, and you get more than you bargained for.
Yeah, it's the PS6, actually.
It's actually much better. Dan Bongino it's actually Dan Bongino handing you the PlayStation. And so there we go. Let's jump to this next story from the Post Millennial. Okay, I'm going to pause real quick as we get started and just say we'll try to keep this one family friendly as much as we can, but considering the nature of it, just, giving you guys a heads up. NSA vows to take action against workers who are talking kink, sex changes, polyamory, fetishes in government chat room. Two channels from the NSA's Interlink messaging program featured discussions related to polyamory and all these other things. I'm not going to get into the details, but let me just say they're shockingly graphic, disturbing. They depict actions which one might question if somebody who tried to do this would be 5150'd. You know what I mean? It's
Wow.
I mean, these chats are nuts. Like, these are government employees. I will save. Maybe we'll take a few minutes in the uncensored call-in show to get a little heavy on what they were talking about. Boy. But they were talking about things that could result in serious harm to your body and how they enjoyed them. And I'm just like, what is going on at the NSA? And I gotta tell you, particularly worried because the NSA's got everything about you.
Yeah. This is honestly the least shocking thing. I feel like this is just right up their alley. These are voyeurs who listen to all of us. This is what they do. They're weird furries,
There are some regular furries. They watch the show. They super chat sometimes.
That's right. I was here one time they called in. Yeah.
I will actually say this. If you're at home and you're dressed like Bugs Bunny, I really don't care. If you're in a private chat room with your friends talking about wanting to be Bugs Bunny, again, I really don't care. If on our tax dollars,
That's right.
you are dressed like Bugs Bunny, having Bugs Bunny conventions in government chat rooms, now we've got a problem.
Yeah.
That is not something we should be paying for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why they're offended at what 5 things did you get done this week? Because they're talking about this instead of doing work.
Right.
Well,
This is the problem.
took this one object and I put it in my...
Oh,
Right.
my
I washed
God,
the
help
weird
us.
stain off of my furry suit.
Oh, Lord, help us all, please.
Fired.
Gross.
This is like the congressional sex tape. This is right in line with the.
Remember
mutants
that?
in DC.
Remember
Oh,
that?
How could I forget?
Can I just pause? I don't know if the statute of limitations is on that, but I sure hope Dan and Cash go after those guys.
Absolutely.
Lock
That was
'em
a
up.
disgrace.
Remember, they said they
to this
didn't do anything
country.
wrong. They
Well, we don't even
investigated.
know we know who the front one was. We don't know who the other one was. The one who was holding the camera.
Let me just pause real quick.
Yeah.
Just for the context. For those that don't know, a video leaked in the Senate building of 2 men. Let's just call it
Loving each other.
offending God.
Yeah, that's better. That's what
Better.
it was.
Yes.
Offending God.
Yeah. And it's not a gay thing.
And
It's
the
just like
founders.
and
the founders.
I'm talking about premarital relations.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
Good way to
Yes.
spin that.
There you go.
Engaged in activities that would justify
I
God
think-
destroying the whole city.
I called it making the baby Jesus cry last time.
They were doing what the Senate does to America.
Yeah.
Just on the Senate floor.
So
I mean, I know that I
again,
sound-
okay, right? Just
they do to
just
us every
to
day.
Move on from this and stop making puns. No one ever got held accountable. There's a guy got fired. Yeah.
Yep.
And I want criminal accountability for people who are breaking the law.
Yeah.
So, okay, back to the NSA weird exposed chats that are really disturbing, and you wish you didn't read if you do.
Remember when
This is
things like
this is why Elon Musk's emails are so important, and why it's so important that Doge go in and figure out what these people are doing, because I don't think people realize it's not just about giving money to charities that make no sense. When someone, if you go out in the middle of the street in Times Square and say, should we be funding gender studies in Pakistan? Most people are going to say no. Okay, now what if you said, should we be funding the employment of people who use work time to talk about their weird kinks and putting things in their, you know what? And they're going to be like, no! Why are we paying for that? Fire them all.
Dude, I said it's the least surprising thing because the government is so depraved. Last night on my show, we talked about how the government funded kids in foster care to be experimented on and feeding them radioactive oatmeal.
God.
Just to see what went down. And we've also secretly given kids AIDS like medicine that they didn't know they were taking. Like we experiment on children with our tax dollars all the time. This is just like an offshoot of how depraved we are.
I mean, there are dark and sinister forces operating behind the scenes that people don't want to believe is true.
Yeah, it's everything.
It is remarkable how there's that joke about what's the difference between the news and a conspiracy theory, 6 months.
Yeah.
Right.
But the reality is, I mean, you look at the JFK stuff. It was fringe lunacy to say anything other than, what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're at the point where former Congressman Ron Paul sitting on a podcast be like, it was CIA. And then we're hanging out with RFK Jr. It's like, the CIA killed my family. And it's like, now it's just publicly mainstream believed.
Completely. Yeah, 100%.
That's why I'm
Nobody
happy we
thinks
have
that.
Now, I do think Cash's position was that it wasn't.
Interesting.
And he's like, I've seen all the documents. He's like, you'll see.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is why I'm happy we have a prolific conspiracy theorist in the FBI now, because he's gonna, I hope, expose a lot of this stuff.
But you know, the funny thing about it is they call him a conspiracy theorist, and I'm just like, That doesn't mean,
good thing.
it doesn't mean he's wrong.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean he's wrong.
If you're not being called a conspiracy theorist or far right or some of these names, then you're not doing good anymore.
Have you seen that comedy bit from that? I don't know the guy's name. It's a viral bit, and he's like, you guys really don't believe in conspiracy theories? Like, I can understand.
Ron
not-
Funches.
Is that what it was? He's like, I can understand not believing all of them, but not even one. Like, you think the government's just betting 1,000? And he's like, I'm going to lighten the language for the family-friendly show. But he goes, look, the government is tasked with looking over all of its people. I've got one son. I'm tasked with looking over him, and I lie to him all the time. It's so
Listen to
good.
that members only.
I remember
So
that's
good.
Such a great bit.
But he's right.
Totally
So
right.
when they're like, Dan Bongino's a conspiracy theorist, and I'm like, good.
Yeah.
Because, hold on, let's just pause for a minute. If you're in the FBI and someone comes to you and says, Deputy Director, I have these photos of these two men. They met in a parking garage carrying bags. And when they left, they're carrying different bags. Now, I think, because if you follow this guy, he works for this pharmaceutical company. And this guy, he doesn't seem to have a job. Now, I think what's happening is, imagine if the deputy director wasn't a conspiracy theorist. And he goes, whoa, you think two guys who went to a parking garage and traded bags, you think there's crime there? You're a conspiracy theorist. Nothing happened.
Right.
And imagine a deputy director like Dan, he's going to be like, interesting. It looks like a crime may have been committed, but let's move if we have probable cause, not just assume the bag. So you want someone in law enforcement to actually be able to connect dots and seek out probable cause, should there be, or find the probable cause, should there be any, or a preponderance of evidence, should there be any.
A synonym for conspiracy theorist is historian. You just know your history. You know, like read the book Chaos, read the book Poisoner in Chief.
That is really funny to point out that literally all of history is conspiracies.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Like the founding fathers were engaged in a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Imagine it's 1769 or whatever, and you're like in the Revolutionary War, and then you're running around going like, a group of Americans are trying to overthrow the crown. They're getting together and have these meetings where they're trying to form their own governments. They're like, calm down, buddy. You're nuts. It's like, no, trust me, I'm telling you. Right. You go to Britain and you're like, I'm telling you, they're going to create their own country and they're going to call it America, but that's just the name of the continent. They're going to be like, yeah, buddy, no one's overthrowing the king.
Englishmen. You can't. We'll never not be Englishmen. Just because we're here doesn't mean we're not Englishmen.
America is founded on conspiracies.
Well, but also like think about the nature of what a conspiracy theory is and what the phrase is intending to do.
Right.
They're trying to tell you when they call you a conspiracy theorist, they're trying to say your ideas are improbable or absurd.
Yeah.
That's not just about whether two people got together in secret to make a criminal plan. Throughout history, we are rife with moments where people didn't believe a thing was going to happen, and then it did.
Right.
It's like, so today, when they're like, you're a conspiracy theorist, it's like, well, let's go back in time and talk about who got what right. That's all that matters.
Yeah. It's a word to delegitimize, what people are looking at.
Well, I mean,
after JFK is when it really started to pop off.
It was the precursor to far right.
Yeah.
They say he's a far right conspiracy, far right, blah, 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 far right, because conspiracy theorist is not, it just doesn't have the same oomph anymore,
No,
particularly
there's a
again
lot
after
of
COVID.
What would happen if like Dan Bongino, Cash, Trump, they're like, we're going to go in and figure out what the NSA is doing. And then some rogue employees just like dump a bunch of public files on everybody, like literally everybody, just like open it. There you go. I imagine there's too much data to actually release.
That seems possible, I think.
Well, the challenge with it is all the data the NSA has, it's too much for anyone to actually parse through.
True.
Like, where would it be hosted even?
Right.
Russia?
Right.
But if there are rogue actors who are thinking like, they've uncovered our weird kink chats and they're about to expose us, let's release it all,
That's interesting. That'd be fun. It sounds like fun.
I got to be honest. We'd be. I don't know how to phrase this. I don't think we'd be surprised by anything liberals do.
Right.
But I also don't think we'd be surprised by some of the things we learn about conservatives either.
Oh yeah, there's
You'd be like,
degenerates across the aisle.
that conservative guy was gay, and it's like, well,
Makes sense.
Yep.
Yep.
yeah.
Well, that person was a furry this whole time. Interesting.
Actually, the crazy thing is going to be when you figure out whose kid is whose. You're like, so Justin Trudeau was.
Yeah, I knew it. I'm a conspiracy theorist.
That's the most. Yeah, that's a very interesting one.
It is pretty wild when you put Trudeau's face next to Castro, and it's like, bro, Okay, let me just say.
An image.
Yes.
Let me just say this. And I'm allowed to do this now because I'm a first-time dad for a couple of days, and I'm having experiences all you other dads have already had. But my baby is born, and I'm like, look at that. She looks kind of like me. She got like little things on her ears. Looks like I'm like, how about that? You look at Justin Trudeau's face, and I'm like, look at he's got the same nose, he's got the same face. Like, come on.
Just straight up, that's his dad.
Has to. No, it has to be. Really, it's too uncanny.
It's not just that, but like if you read about like how much his mom loved Castro and how she was in Cuba at just the right time, and she was,
Well, I mean, there's arguments that the timeline doesn't actually line up properly or whatever, but I just got to tell you, if you look at Trudeau's dad, like his actual publicly recognized dad, he doesn't look anything like him.
Right.
And then you look at young Castro, and it's like there's a kind of a resemblance there, but who knows?
Yeah,
I don't know. All right, let's jump to this story. This one's spicy. So hey, from the Post Millennial, Dan Crenshaw says he would kill Tucker Carlson if they ever met. Tucker invites him for a sit-down interview. I kid you not. This story's blowing up. What the? I can't. What is this?
It's a bad idea for congressmen that are former Navy SEALs to say things like this.
What happened to Dan Crenshaw, man? I'm going to play the video, but it's 10 seconds long. I remember when he was first running, his first time, everybody was stoked on this guy.
Yeah.
They're like, he's pretty good.
Remember the ads, the really cool ads? He was doing everything.
Oh, those ads really freaked me out, but you'll come back to that.
Have you ever met Tucker?
We've talked a lot. If I ever meet him, I'll probably kill him.
I'm not.
Have you ever met?
To be fair, he said, I'm not joking, but I don't think he was literally expressing the intent to kill Tucker Carlson. But it's a very weird thing to say. And regardless, as a member of Congress, and as you mentioned, former Navy SEAL, that's what talking about a man who routinely receives death threats, to say that you will do that and that you're not joking, well, it doesn't matter what I think or my interpretation is. It matters that he said it and said he wasn't joking. So his intent is expressed.
Yeah, it's a bad idea. It's a very bad idea for Congress people to say that. It's very, very bad idea for people that have been in have his training to say that. It's all thumbs down, Dan. All thumbs down. Bad move.
Pete Davidson should have never apologized, in my opinion, to this guy.
Well, and then remember, he goes, MTG asked him, so did you really just threaten to kill Tucker? And he goes, LOL, no.
And then
it's
he got
on
the
camera.
note.
It's all on camera. Of course he got the note. It's on camera. I honestly don't know if he's stable in the head. I don't know that he's fit to serve any longer. I genuinely believe that. I don't know that he's stable enough to serve in the Congress anymore.
I mean,
Something's up.
I don't think that I'm in a position to actually make that kind of call. But
Here's the post.
I mean, look.
So Steve Edginton, is that how you pronounce it, from GB News, says, after this is amazing. Okay, he says, after our interview, I asked Dan Crenshaw if he had ever met Tucker Carlson. He said that he'd kill him. He laughed it off. Watch my interview below. Marjorie Taylor Greene says, Dan Crenshaw, did you threaten to kill my friend Tucker? And Dan Crenshaw says, LOL, no. And there's a proposed community note with video evidence of him saying it. This is wild.
Oh man,
I don't know what happened to this guy.
It's a fall from grace, or maybe he's always been this way, because he was appealing to a lot of people on the right in the very beginning.
Yeah,
those commercials you were talking about, that's when I was starting to be like, oh, this guy, I did not like that. He was trying to be like a Marvel character.
When he was jumping
flying
out of the
sky.
airplanes. It was when I think Arsenal was doing all those cool ads back then. It was a lot. It was a lot of CGI stuff, but I don't know. He seemed at least to love what he did. He seemed to love the country, seemed to be patriotic. He seemed to be with his heart in the right place. Now, the only time I ever hear the guy is when he's blasting other people.
But he's hated by everybody.
Nobody likes him.
At least Kinzinger was like, I guess I'll be a Democrat.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I get it. You're going to pen it up. Dan Crenshaw was like, I'm going to be hated by everyone.
I think he just makes enough money in fundraising that nobody can seem to primary him, because I don't understand how he continues to win primaries.
He lied about how much money he made in stocks, right? I forget what the numbers were.
He's another good inside trader from what I understand.
Yeah.
He's nowhere near as good as Pelosi.
Nobody's as good as Pelosi.
But I heard that he lives in a district with a lot of military manufacturing, and so he'll never lose because these people don't want to lose the pro-military industrial complex vote. Yeah. Like, look, if you work at a manufacturing plant that is going towards weapons of some sort, you want wars to continue.
Yes.
I mean, if this were a movie, it'd be too on the nose. The guy with the eye patch, like making money off the military industrial complex. Come on.
I mean, it's. I got to be honest. Like, actually, it's a. there's a lot of movies that do it. It's not too on the nose. I just watched that one movie. I can't remember what it was, where like there's like some army veterans are broke, so they're going to go rob a bank or something.
Okay.
And they've got all those special, like they know how they know combat, so they're able to do it more effectively or whatever. The idea that's like a man comes back from 2 tours and he's been injured and maimed, and Veterans Affairs are not paying, the VA's not paying his health care or whatever, and he's got a family to take care of, so he goes rogue. It's actually a normal, thing. Like, it's a...
But this guy came back and went to like Yale, right?
Did he? Is he Yale educated?
Yale or Harvard or one of those Ivy League. Like he's an Ivy Leaguer,
Yeah, I mean,
maybe he got into the skulls. Is that what it's called?
Skull and Bones.
Bones, yeah.
Bones?
That's why he's got the eye patch. Actually,
Well, I mean, you don't got to. Anybody can join.
that's true. If you're a lizard like the Bushes,
I mean, you guys asked.
Have you ever seen those? I'm sorry, but have you ever seen those videos on Instagram? There are tons of them. And they've been around for a while. It's not just Instagram, but it's like they catch people turning into lizards.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just video compression artifacting. It's like really dumb.
yeah.
Wow.
Dude, Billy Corgan on Rogan years ago said he saw someone turn into a lizard.
He didn't, but okay.
I think he did, and I need to know who that was. I'm guessing Courtney Love.
Turn into a lizard.
I'm guessing it's Courtney Love. I don't know though.
Those stories in short context are like, I once saw a politician turn into a lizard, and you're like, whoa. And then you're like, without that context, because then later on you find that guy and you're like, tell me the full story. It's like, okay, well, I was hanging out with my friends doing acid. And you're like, stop. I'm going to go.
No, I walked by Adam Schiff in real life and I saw he's got like 2 eyelids. He's super slimy.
Something is genuinely wrong with him.
Yes.
Too. You can look at him and know something is very off with Adam Schiff.
He's worried.
He should be worried.
If you thought he was worried when Cash Patel was coming in, now Dan Bongino.
What happened at the Standard Hotel? Adam Schiff? What happened?
I'm willing to bet that maybe the first move made by Cash and Dan is going to be like, let's go see what Adam Schiff has been up to.
Yeah.
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 Ooh,
How many kids
Swalwell.
are in that basement?
Swalwell too. Yeah. Oh wow. Yes.
That's crazy. And now he became a senator. I mean, this is
He's a senator. California will elect anything. It's unbelievable to me who gets elected in that
It's
state.
so disheartening. Like, he's such I mean, he was censured as a congressperson, and then he gets a promotion.
Yeah.
What is wrong with the
pardon?
people in California?
The pardon, like, what does that even cover is what I want to know. This is an interesting question for Bongino and Cash. What does that pardon cover?
Yeah.
What is it just related to his work on the J6 stuff, or does that cover a lot of other stuff?
I mean, look,
and if so,
people
what?
of California they have the right to, elect whoever they want to put into position, in the position of senator. But I mean, you know that he's a dishonest person, because he was censured for dishonesty.
Yeah.
You know that he was the guy that was most vocal about a BS line of I mean, it was just all BS about Trump and Russia. He was the guy that was constantly saying that. And then the people of California voted to put him into the upper chamber, right? Yeah. Supposedly, because the thing is, like, in the House, because they're every 2 years and because there's 435 of them, you're going to get clowns, right? You're going to get dudes that are going to be that are going to do wild and crazy stuff. You're going to get people that are weirdos. Sometimes they stick around, sometimes they don't. That's why Maxine Waters is still there, right? But, like, when it comes to the Senate, they're supposed to be more deliberate. They have longer, appointments or terms, and to think that the people of California said, yes, this is the guy that we want to represent us. That is, you're literally just doing a total disservice to the whole state and to the country.
I believe there's a lot of red voters in that state. It's just those cities.
It's
really
actually
split.
the most Republicans in any state because of the size of the population.
And it's like New York. My home state is a lot of red voters. It's just a city.
Well, but they have the jungle primaries, so there's no hope. You have so many Democrats. It was usually it's the top 2 finishers are Democrats. This time they had Steve Garvey. Steve Garvey
would have been interesting though.
Steve Harvey would have been much better than Schiff.
I'm interested in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Steve Harvey couldn't do a worse job than Schiff. That's at least he's never mind.
I don't know who he was running against. So I mean,
Steve Garvey, the baseball player.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Who was a Republican. who is a Republican. Who knows? It's California. When they
What's-
run as
what- yeah, what
Republicans,
kind-
it's like,
like,
I'm a
what was-
Republican, so, but yeah, I hate Donald Trump.
Yeah,
but I'm a
what
Republican.
exactly? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, if it, like you
It's
don't
so
know
sad.
what kind of guy, or at least I don't know what kind of guy he was. I don't know.
I would
didn't-
love to see what would happen in California if they would actually get a Republican who ran, not as a like, Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene, but somebody who ran as an actual staunch Republican with conservative
they got
values.
Larry Elder.
Instead of these moderate squish people.
Yeah.
Maybe people would be shocked because I don't even think that the liberal voters like these people who are like, yeah, I'm going to be a Democrat, but not really. Maybe they would respect it more if they actually said, yeah, I'm going to be a conservative. That's who I am. That's what I'm going to do.
would
Would
like
that
to
be
see-
better? Maybe. Who knows?
I would like to see someone that I don't know. I don't know what I don't know what California wants. I know Orange County is kind of where all the Republicans have kind of like gathered
Yes,
for their
right.
last stand or
Yeah.
whatever. It's like the Alamo, but
I talked to a lot of people out there post the LA fires, and I was initially thinking that might change the way they vote, but they're like, no, they've already forgot. They're just moving on, and they haven't changed the way they think about politics, despite everything burning to the ground.
yeah, it's unfortunate.
Well, look at Karen Bass. She manages
phenomenal.
to remain mayor. I mean, Maxine Waters, like you said, Phil, how do these people remain in public life at all? They'd be laughed out of,
Because there are
anywhere.
people who think Donald Trump called neo-Nazis very fine people.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Did you guys see the Elon Musk video that went viral the other
Oh,
day?
that was sad. Yeah, the one
Where-
that said he left his kid and that he didn't
And
love
it's
the
got
kid.
20 million views
Right.
on a bunch of subreddits. And then there's clearly a full video where Elon checks 3 times
Yes.
to make sure his son is with him.
If anyone who watched that initial video saw that it was cropped in a way,
They fall for it every time. Remember the ABC News Trump feeding the fish?
Right. Oh yeah, yeah.
Shinzo Abe dumps the food, and then Trump looks at him and goes, "Okay," and dumps the food.
Right.
They zoom in and crop it so it looks like Trump did something. They're liars.
These videos are in conjunction with a constant stream of Trump's a bad guy. And
Yeah.
so you get people that are emotionally inclined to dislike Trump, which there's a certain amount of our political perspectives comes just from who we are, right? You're born, and it's not that you're guaranteed, but you're born to have the inclination to be left leaning. You're born to have the inclination to be right leaning. There are certain things about different personalities that just are inside of you, right? But that's also malleable depending on your experiences, depending on what you learn and stuff like that. But when you get people that are inclined to be on the left, and then you feed them a straight up nonstop diet of, hey, this guy's Hitler, and they're probably on SSRIs, or they're probably on some kind of mood altering drugs, or maybe they're neurotic or something like that, and you keep showing them the same. You spend all day long telling them how this is terrible, this guy's a Nazi, he's going to do this, he's going to do that, and then you show them a video that confirms their priors. They're going to share it with their friends. They're going to say, look, see, I told you so. I just had a guy on that came to my feed, and after a few weeks back and forth, he blocks me, of course. But his whole thing is like, oh, Elon Musk is a Nazi, and I'm like,
Elon Musk.
What is it about Elon Musk that makes you think he's a Nazi? Like, what has he done? And he's like, well, he wants to murder people. I'm like, you actually believe
that, though?
that Elon Musk wants to murder people?
Elon Musk was the one with Ben Shapiro. All the anti-Semites hate Musk because they say he's too pro-Jew. Now he is a Jewish kid.
Yeah,
I mean, what are you
that's-
talking about?
But this illustrates my point. Like, it's not, they don't have an opinion that reflects reality.
Right.
They're looking for things that confirm their priors.
Right.
They're looking for things that confirm what they want to believe.
Right.
And so that's why when Musk did the hand, my heart goes
Show
out
us
to
what
you,
he did.
They're like,
Watch out. Watch it, everybody.
What did he do? Yeah, oh,
Hands
nice.
below
Double
the
cigar.
shoulders.
but that's what
Yeah.
it's like, oh, look, he did the thing.
Right.
He did the thing. And look, that means he did the thing. That means that he wants to round up all the Jews
Yeah.
and
It's
kill
all
them.
There you go.
confirmation
Right?
bias, right? I, as you know, I think there's legitimate reasons to have criticisms for him, but none of these things are that, right? Like the cropped videos, the out of context stuff, none of that's legitimate. It just feeds the brain dead left.
Yeah, it does. It does.
It's
And
really annoying.
And it's not just really annoying, it's really bad for people
Yes.
that are inclined to believe these things, and people that are, again, on the margins, people that are possibly a little on the mentally compromised side, because and this is something that the left does. They want people that are borderline or mentally mentally compromised or that are having struggles. They want them to be upset because upset people will go out and do things like Luigi Mangiano did.
Right.
They'll go out and they'll do things like the guy that climbed up on the roof in Pennsylvania did.
Well-
they'll do those kind of things.
If we are deeply concerned about what upset people might do, we have this story from the Post Millennial. My show had value. Joy Reid cries after MSNBC canceled her show.
Wrongo.
Joy Reid is no value.
She cries. It's very sad.
But also that my show had value
No,
and that I'm sorry.
I'm not.
That what I was doing had value.
It clearly didn't, ma'am. That's why nobody watched it and they fired you.
Value. And in the end, I'm sorry. I try not to cry on TV. And I take this.
No,
I
you're
love
not
you
on TV.
so I
Not
apologize.
anymore.
She's on Zoom. Yeah.
and that it mattered. I see Karen is there and she's been texting me as well. And so what I will just say is that in the end, thank you.
Can I just, she was getting like what, 50K viewers?
That would be surprising, honestly. I don't know what she was
in
getting.
the key demo, her show got like 50, I think 68,000 last weekend or something like that was the reported numbers. Wow. I just want to let you guys know that I can post a video of me giggling at a chicken
Yeah.
and get more views than that. Like, this is something Joy Reid needs to consider, okay? Her opinions, nobody wants to hear them.
No. She is a horrible human being. I don't usually take joy in watching people cry on camera, watching people suffer. I really love her tears. It brings me great pleasure to see her suffer.
She's so
She's a
smug.
disgusting, race-baiting, despicable
She's
human being.
racist. She's smug.
She hates everyone in this room just because if she could kill us all, she would.
I think The View might hire her.
The View don't
I think
even
she'd be
want-
great
they don't
there.
even want her.
I think she'd be
Whoopi
great at The
Goldberg
View.
don't want to compete with
I
her.
think her
to
career
be
is
the dumbest
over.
heifer in the
it's
world.
done.
I mean, look at Don Lemon. How's Don Lemon doing?
Where's
He's
he
doing
at these days?
TikToks now. He's doing TikToks, or he's in the Senate doing videos. I don't know. Anyway,
Don Lemon?
no.
Yeah, let's see how Don.
that went
Hey,
over.
look, Don Lemon's
That's in
got
the
half a
videos we
million.
were talking about earlier.
Videos we were
I need
talking
to-
about earlier.
I don't want to hear Don Lemon. Don Lemon's got 500,000 subs for some reason. YouTube's still trying to save this guy. Let's take a look at his views. Okay, look, he's 30,000,
Okay.
11,000. No, I mean let's here you go. I work in the industry, guys. I can give you some insights. Let's see. So 30,000 views. He's gonna be doing he probably made like $500. That's not bad. I mean, how many of you would like to make a video where you talk to a guy on the internet and get paid $500 for it? You know what I mean? So Don Lemon, he's probably making at this level, he might be doing like $400K a year. You know what I mean?
I'm sure he has to have something somewhere, right?
What do you mean?
Like there has to be another platform. He's something.
Oh, this one's got a lot. This one's got a little.
He's the one who blew it with Elon, right? Didn't Elon offer him something? Yep. And he was like, I want to do the first space podcast. I want to do it from Mars, where they should have left his sorry behind.
I mean,
It can enjoy with him.
it makes no sense, to be completely honest, in why Don Lemon is getting any viewership at all, because he's not a merit-based personality. Like, there are a lot of people who built from the ground up their platform. Almost all of the podcasts you see, almost all of them, not all of them, are someone started a show and slowly built up to it. So Don Lemon, to me, doesn't make a lot of sense. But look, he's having a lemon party. Is that what it says? With Joy Reid?
A lemon party.
Listen, if you're an internet, familiar with the internet, don't even.
He's having a lemon watch party with Joy Reid. It streamed 20. He did this already. Well, I'm not surprised. Maybe she can start a YouTube channel and YouTube will prop her channel up for some reason and people will watch it.
Nice.
No, she's a horrible person. I mean,
Well, Don Lemon is too.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
well, I've never heard Don Lemon say things that were as
she's
explicitly
far
racist as
worse.
her.
She's far.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the white? I don't care about white women's tears, and now you're the one crying. Cry a river, you horrible demon.
Yeah. Well, the bigger question is for the likes of Caitlin Collins and
Ooh. Oh yeah,
Chris
yeah.
Cuomo and Anderson Cooper. These people don't have any high level talent.
No.
So let me break it down for you guys. So when we are launching Timcast IRL, many may ask, who does the production? Well, Serge is controlling the cameras and volume and things like that in real time. So when the camera's switching, there's a human being pressing buttons. As for story selection, we Well, it's actually quite simple. My morning show and all of the news and everything I'm reading throughout the day is basically pre-production for Timcast IRL. I come in, I sit down, I pull up the stories that I think are most pressing or interesting that are going viral that I see on X or on various news websites. There's no other producers. There's no story writers. People who work here will sometimes see stories and post them in our company chat room, things like that. For the most part, my morning show is 90% me, and then I've got people who will help post things on. So everything on YouTube, I upload it all and get it going, and then we have people who will post them on other platforms. And then story-wise, 99% of the time, I'm just pulling stories myself. This is true for most independent podcasters. Like Joe Rogan, how does he get guests? Honestly, Joe hears about them and then reaches out or someone connects them. You know, people always think there's a magic bullet, like, I want to go on Joe's show. And I was like, hey, do you know Joe? Like, he's just hanging out with his friends, man. Joy Reid and most of these other TV personalities have no capability to do anything other than sit in front of a camera and read a teleprompter.
Yep.
So how could they possibly move to this space successfully? Don Lemon, riding the coattails of the CNN brand, was able to muster up 500,000 subscribers. But think about this. Here's a guy getting paid millions of dollars. That's the best he can do. He's averaging, 20,000 views? And he was getting this massive salary. When you take these people out of their fake corporate element, they do not make it anywhere meaningful. And I wouldn't be surprised if Don Lemon just simply ceases to exist in the long run. Though, to be fair, maybe he figures it out, maybe he improves. Joy Reid ain't going to be able to set up a YouTube channel. The amount of money it would cost her to hire people to do the production work that needs to be done for someone with no talent, not going to happen.
No, she's not going to make it. She will not be around. She'll write a book. A few people will buy the book.
I don't know.
And then
I don't agree.
You don't think she'll? I mean, she has to read to.
Does she know how to read?
But yeah, well, she probably knows how to read.
I don't know that if she wrote a book, anybody would want to pick it up or care about it. This lady was getting 60,000 viewers, like in the key demo. So I think she did have a substantial, a couple 100,000, maybe it was like 500, 600,000 of people 75 plus. No disrespect if you're 75 plus, but that's not key demo. So what was the value of her show? Riling up older folks?
Right.
Pretty much. Is that what I would assume? It was just older black church ladies and stuff no, seriously, her, Simone Sanders. I mean, these are not people that are respected. They don't she doesn't speak anywhere. Nobody goes to listen to her speak. She's joyless. She's heartless. She's just nothing. She's worthless. So, I wish her well. I hope she has enough money to last a little
He just called her a demon. I wish you well, though.
No, I wish her, I don't want to see somebody drown out and become a cokehead, but in reality, she'll probably look like Justin Bieber looks in a couple of weeks. Honest to God.
Yeah.
But that's all right.
He's
With her
looking
Trump
rough.
wig, I hope she can still afford one.
Or Ariana Grande.
Ariana Grande. God, I hope she's okay.
That girl needs to
very
get some
not
help.
right
Yeah,
with her.
she needs to get off the Ozempic.
But I don't think that's just
This is just an
Ozempic.
eating
I think
disorder,
that's
if I understand.
seriously disorders right there.
It's terrible.
But we'll see what
And
happens.
the media
with Joy.
industry is in for a shakeup, man.
Yeah.
Like just the evolution that's happening before us, we are seeing with the podcast presidency, and it's going to change, and I've been warning about this. Most of the big shows are homegrown. Individuals who start, but it's starting to change, and we're starting to see podcast plants. This is a bit a story. People who look like they had a meritocratic growth, but it's not. It's industry. It's corporate. It's all built up. This will be the case. I said this last year. The beast will not just go, guess I lost. These companies have hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, and they're going to say, oh, what happened? Viewership trends have changed, and everyone's doing podcasts. How do we make an identical podcast? Don't be surprised if within a year, there is a show identical in almost every way to Timcast IRL at 8 p.m. with liberals sitting around, and it looks like it's just some dudes hanging out. But it's going to be a DNC backroom deal sponsored show or something like that.
Well, they keep saying, the DNC keeps saying, we need an answer for Rogan. We need an answer for all these podcasts because they don't have anything. Who are they going to put? Harry Sisson and Chris? I mean, who's going to do their round table?
Yeah.
It would end
They're
up
gonna
they'd
get
be on the table.
David
But-
Pagman, Kyle Kalinske, and Tyler Cohen.
Who?
Nightmare.
No, hold on. I got to call you out for that.
Brian Tyler Cohen, I know. Who's the other ones?
David Pagman's got nearly 3 million
I don't know
subs
who
and
that
gets
is.
hundreds of millions of views on his videos.
I've never heard of him.
And that is a problem.
Yeah.
So all these conservatives sitting here gloating and cheering, being like, haha, look at Joy Reid, ignoring the fact that these other liberals are getting propped up, built up, and are building up massive channels.
Interesting.
While simultaneously calling on the DNC to fund them. saying, we will be your answer to Joe Rogan.
Do you think the DNC?
I'm sorry, real quick. I got to point this out. David Pakman, I hope your fans and followers clip this and share it with you, and I hope you see it, make a video about it. David Pakman published a video calling Trump's it was Trump like this with his hands on his head, and it said all-time worst approval or all-time lowest approval at a time where Trump is experiencing his highest aggregate approval of his career.
Right.
How could this man, David Pakman, I don't understand how you can title and make a video with a headline and a thumbnail claiming Trump's approval rating is the lowest it's ever been when it's the inverse. Because these people are professional liars. It's what they do. And they want money from the machine to continue lying to people.
Yeah.
That's what they are. That's what they do. And I got to tell you, man, he gets a lot of views on these videos. If we just decided, you know what? How about we make a video where we show, we claim that, let's make the story 10 times worse. Joy Reid cries on TV after being physically thrown out of MSNBC studio with all of her fans booing her and screaming at her. We'd get 1 million views on that video. None of it's true, though. Right. So we don't do that.
Right.
David Pakman, however, and not just him, but other liberals, actually make thumbnails and titles that are factually 100% false to get a ton of clicks, and it works, and YouTube props them up. But hey, that's free speech. I get it.
They're all a variety of a Jussie Smollett. Like it's all a hoax. It's all a lie. He sounds like he's already on the DNC payroll. They're propagandists, and that's what they do.
What do you think that the behavior of people like, whether it be Pakman or No Lie with I love Brian Taylor Cohen's show is called No Lie. He's literally the lioness dude on all of X. He spreads more BS than anybody I've ever seen. But so the Democrats are really in a really bad spot. I mean, even James Carville, who's like the guy from the 90s that really knew how to get people elected, he straight up said Democrats should play possum. Democrats should sit back and let the Republicans mess up. And the reason he said that isn't because the Republicans are likely to mess up significantly. It's because the Democrats are having a massive civil war, and they can't figure out if they want to try to be the party of the working class or if they want to be the progressives that are concerned with centering the marginalized people, because they're going to lose the Latino vote, because the people that are immigrants that have come to the country, they don't want to have illegal immigrants. They want legal immigrants. Right. And those people are generally conservative. Like they're still predominantly religious people. And if you look in Texas, you see the way that Latinos, like second generation Latinos vote. They're not all, but there's a significant portion of them, probably a majority, that vote conservative. There were a couple districts right on the border that went red from
half the border went red.
Let me show you some of this.
What do the Democrats do?
Let's revel in what is the David Pakman show. David, I have no problem. I'll say this, so he made a video where he claimed that I and Milo Yiannopoulos claimed that he was funded by USAID or something. I never said that. I made the point that there are nonprofits we know that buy ad spots on prominent liberal podcasts. With some of these nonprofits losing funding, I wonder if we're going to see any announcement from podcasts that the revenue is drying up or something like this. Never accused anyone directly of doing it. Milo responded, David Pakman, as if to imply that Pakman was willfully or knowingly taking money through circuitous methods from USAID. I never said that. But that's the game he plays. Lawyers warning me, Trump is coming after you. 765,000 views. The picture is Trump pointing at him with his face palm. Then you've got Trump's cognitive health, 476,000. Taking total control. The total control one is the only one that I actually respect in a certain degree. It's not total control. Trump has control as the executive branch. Trump deranged rant, 440,000. Those are fine. All-time lowest approval. Disaster already. Yeah, that's just factually false. Trump's enjoying some of the best approval ratings he's ever had in his career. I expect it to go down.
Is Mike Pence his co-host?
Apparently so.
He should be.
So you look at when he doesn't play this weird clickbait game. Elon Musk is doing the acute source. He's 28,000, 84,000. And then when he does play the obvious absurdities, bro, no one's coming. No lawyers warning liberals, Trump's going to come after you, David. Oh, shut up. Stupidest thing imaginable. But this is the world we live in, where people like him make crap up. Like this one is the most egregious. I'm sorry. It's not the worst he's ever done. He's done a lot of stuff like this. Disaster already. We get it, dude. You've got nothing to talk about.
I mean, I don't know. I still don't know what the Democrats do. I don't know where they go from here.
The
And
brand is broken, and they have no talent. They have nobody on the bench that's really great.
I don't agree that they have no talent.
Who's great? Who's great?
So they have people that have charisma, right? AOC has a lot of charisma.
You can't put that in a national context.
I disagree with you. I think that they can. But listen, the point isn't just about the talent. The point is the actual party has to decide what they're going to do. And if they go with the progressives that hate the rich, they're going to lose all their funding.
Right.
Right? Because the progressives, like you're going to lose any kind of wealthy Jewish people. They're not going to support them because the progressives absolutely hate Israel and they literally are on the side of Hamas. You're going to lose anybody that's got any kind of capital because they want to get rid of the wealth tax. They want to tax people based on their net worth, not on the actual money they make and stuff. So the Progressive Party will have no funding, and the whole Democrat Party will fall apart then. But that might be where the energy is. The young people are more on the progressive side, the Democrats that are young. And then you've got like the normal kind of middle of the road Democrats that are still kind of like Democrats that haven't moved over to the I'm not a leftist. And they're still trying to save the party. People like Richie Torres, people like I don't know. There's people.
Who'd you have on the show in D.C. when you guys were there?
Ro Khanna. People like
Ro Khanna.
Ro Khanna is good.
Ro Khanna kind of walks between the two. But the point is,
I would say Ro Khanna is nice.
Yeah.
Yes. But his logic is that of the destroying America kind.
Yeah, but I think he's a good person. Let's put it that way, as opposed to many of these people that are just terrible people.
I would just say if Ro Khanna is a good person, he's a deeply, deeply ignorant and dangerously ignorant person.
I believe that.
I liked his takes during the Twitter files.
Exactly.
When he talking about censorship.
He says the right thing.
Sometimes.
Okay, more than most Democrats, right?
But his worldview is that illegal immigrants are legitimate immigrants who should be protected.
Yeah,
That's insane.
and that's something that the general population of the United States doesn't agree with. And
They're gonna have
what
to
are the
drop that.
what are
They're
the
gonna have to
Democrats going to do?
Yeah.
Let's jump to this story from NBC News. Doge will use AI to assess the responses of federal workers who were told to justify their jobs via email. Trump then said anyone who doesn't will be fired. Now, we know that Tulsi, the DOD, Cash have told their departments or their branches respectively, do not respond to this. Cash, I think, said we'll put a pause on this. Tulsi said don't respond. We'll handle our stuff internally. But this is fascinating in that one of the biggest scandals in American history, with the news losing their minds, is that a special employee to the government, to the president, just said, so what do you do here? Democrats are freaking out. They don't want the emails to be answered. They're calling it power struggles. In what reality would we allow people at any company to ignore emails and not explain the job they are doing?
And then cry about having to even get these emails. They're acting so traumatized. So I flew here yesterday. I was on, when you get into Dulles, you got to go on that little train to go over to the main terminal and do customs. There was this lesbian in front of me, and she was telling her partner, oh, I got that. She was HHS. She was telling the partner that she got the email, and she didn't respond. She almost did until she realized where it was coming from, like when it hit her that it was Elon Musk's. And, oh, I'm not responding. She's bragging to her lesbian lover next to her about how she's not responding. Why is that woman working for the government? I shut up because I'm on a train before customs. I don't want to get in trouble before I cross the border. But why is this psychopath woman allowed to say these things? I'm not responding because I saw who it come from, because it came from Elon.
Imagine
you work for us. We pay your salary.
But
get out.
Just imagine somebody working for Burger King.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're standing there, and the boss walks up and goes, hey, we're pretty swamped. Can you take the garbage out? And they turn around, I ain't taking the garbage out. It's like, okay, well, you're not going to work here.
Exactly.
You're fired.
Just quit. Leave. Get out. Get lost.
But these people want to work for the government because the government is a free paycheck.
Yes.
And they haven't had to do any work for a long time.
But she's a subversive. I mean, it's just one. I don't know what she does. She could be a janitor. I don't know what she was. She was just some nutcase that was in front of me on this little
She's going to be like senior counsel to the defense of Joe Biden.
Well, she's a subversive parasite. These are subversive parasites. And that's why things don't get done. That's why when Elon was talking the other day about Trump puts the executive order and they don't get enforced, they don't even get done at all. Mm-hmm. This is why. Because this parasite thing that was in front of me is running the show over there. It's a disgrace. They should be thrown out. They should be thrown out. And frankly, if they're subverting the president's orders or the orders of the secretary and you're working for the government, you should be charged.
Yeah.
Well, I
Frankly,
don't know about what charges exist for that.
Well, there should be something.
What? Not, I disagree.
Subverting the will of the God, like subverting.
Being lazy at work doesn't put you in jail.
It's
You
not,
get fired.
but I don't know if it's laziness. I don't know if it's laziness.
Yeah, it's not about being. I think what he's referring to is malicious compliance.
Yeah.
Doing things that they say to do, but
Yes, and just not doing it.
I disagree.
Process.
Completely disagree. You get fired. That's it. If somebody gets hired by a company and then you're like, take the garbage out, so they dump the garbage in the ground, you don't get arrested. You say, okay, you're
No,
fired.
but you're working for the government.
Yes, I don't care.
You're
Government doesn't get
policy.
special action to imprison people
No.
who are stupid.
The
I get what you're saying, but the point is, if somebody works for the government and the boss says, you need to handle this report for this institution, and they go, okay, and they do it wrong, the boss is going to be like, you subverted my will, so we're charging you. That's ridiculous. You do a bad job, you get fired. That's all it is. Somebody works for the government, and they're like, I'm not going to do my job. It's like, well, there's the door.
Yeah.
That's it. Goodbye. Get out. What we're dealing with right now is you've got hundreds of thousands, millions of federal employees, and you've got people who actively don't work, and they think they should get free money from us. They should be fired. Yep. That's it. It's real simple. Now, I do think the email is clever in that it says if you don't respond, it'll be presumed as a resignation because, well, now they've just quit.
True.
So you don't need to go through any of the weird. You go through some of it. They're going to try and make claims, but I got to be honest. If they send out an email and say, "Please respond to this email," and you do not, now it's insubordination. Mm-hmm. Now it's dereliction of duty. So if they send out one email every day, the deadline is tonight. If they send out one email Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, saying, "We've not heard from you. Please respond. We're awaiting your response." After the second or third email, they have a clean termination.
Yeah.
Because then they're going to sue and be like, oh, why did I get fired? They're going to be like, well, anybody who wasn't answering their work emails to the project they were on got let go. I mean, that's just dereliction of duty.
Right.
Goodbye.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think that should be particularly controversial. I imagine that if that did happen, that would be another situation where they would try to bring it before courts. They would try and challenge it in courts. And I say bring it on because these kind of challenges in courts will result in the court deciding the president has the
authority,
Article 2 power. The bureaucracy does not. If you don't do your job, we're going to fire you.
Yeah.
What I want to know with these people is how hard is it to go into ChatGPT or Grok or somewhere and just ask them, what should a person in my position be doing on any given day?
It's not like he's like, send evidence.
They're not asking for evidence. They're not asking for anything. They're too stupid or too ridiculous or whatever the word is. I don't know what the word is. They can't even figure out how to do that. They have to go cry on CNN, and any one of that went to the media and cried about it, they should be fired on the spot. The minute before they even end the hit on the TV, they get a text, you don't come back in ever again.
I mean, look, there's not a way that anyone will get fired that I will disagree with. Like, if you can come up with a reason to fire someone in the government, fire them.
Yeah.
I was watching clips today from CNN. Kevin Leary, Leary or O'Leary?
O'Leary.
The
Shark Tank.
Shark Tank guy. He was on CNN and he was he was talking about cutting. He's like, you cut and cut. He's like, you might cut into some meat, but now that you have the opportunity, you cut and you cut and you cut and you cut. That's what you do in business, blah, blah, blah. And they were mortified, absolutely mortified. But that's really what you should do. If you make massive, massive cuts and you overdo it, you can replace those people. You can find someone. You can offer them the job back. You can find other people that are qualified to do the job. There will be people that want to do the job. Make the cuts while you have the opportunity.
Trump might actually build back better. You should probably use that slogan.
Right.
Yeah.
Steal it from Europe. Biden stole that slogan from Europe. It's
Everybody
wild.
did. Yeah, everybody used it. They used it in
Lifelong
in
plagiarism.
Haiti. The Clintons used it in Haiti like years ago.
But I mean, it's funny because didn't Biden plagiarize that Irish guy in the 80s?
All he ever did is plagiarize.
Right.
The man has never had an original thought
Career
in his
plagiarist,
life.
yeah.
Like, he never has had an original thought.
No,
Well, he doesn't really matter much now, does he?
No,
not
not at all.
He's got he's with the CAA. Signed
He's on a
to
talent agency for what, and Kamala signed to it too. The
Yeah,
talent
that's
agency.
amazing.
That's interesting how they all go straight there.
Yeah.
But no, Biden's going to have no post presidency. He's just going to sit in that house in Delaware and rot
what
away.
can you do?
He was dead before he even left. I mean, the brain is gone.
Yes.
Well, yeah, look, I mean, some people like the time for your time for you to be in the public eye. When that time ends, it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
For Biden, it was probably 4 or 5 years ago.
It was actually
The Biden Library will
way
be a
before
mausoleum. Yeah.
the Biden Library.
Yeah.
What are you going to have?
Big
So,
old mausoleum corpses.
while we're still in the segment, I'll address two comments because we normally save super chats. But we had one comment from someone who said that I was either intentionally or egotistically ignoring the point that people who intentionally do wrong in the federal government should be charged. I believe if you have a job and you intentionally don't do your job, the penalty should be termination. I don't care if you're working for the government or the private sector. If you get hired to do a job and you're like, I'm going to do the opposite, it's like, okay, you're fired. If you steal money to go on vacation, that's a crime. But if someone's like, mop the floor, and then you kick over a 2 liter of Coke, it's like, get out. You don't go to jail for that. If someone says something like, hey, file this paperwork by the end of the week, and then you're like, no, and then you don't do it, you don't go to jail for that. If someone shredded a bunch of classified documents destroying important government paperwork, that's destruction of property. Like those crimes, they already exist. Not doing your job properly is not a crime. Destroying government property, those things are already crimes. And then Kako said, you wanted to charge pilots for flying illegals, but not government workers who defy orders. Those are so radically different. A pilot who knows they are smuggling, and it is literally smuggling, an illegal immigrant comes on their plane holding a document saying they're not a citizen and they have no right to travel this country, no ID to prove who they are, and the pilot goes, fine by me, you're smuggling. Let's put it this way. You own a plane, small little 5-seater, and some guy walks up and says, I'm not a citizen, I have no right to fly in this country, and I'm here illegally. And you're like, well, I guess hop on board. I'm getting paid for this. That's called being a human smuggler.
Yeah.
You work for a commercial airline and then go, my boss told me I have to fly these people. They're not here legally. They have documents proving they're not here legally. They didn't show their IDs, but it's fine. I'm like, yeah, you're just a higher end human smuggler. It's almost like, come on. I'll, you know what? I was going to get a little unfair. I'm not going to do it. I was going to make a crude joke about some I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. But let's just say, if you are knowingly transporting illegal immigrants for cash in any capacity, you're a smuggler. You go to jail for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kamala.
All of them.
Yeah.
I mean, but we're talking about pilots on planes.
Yeah.
And these stories were that there were planes full of illegal immigrants holding documents saying, I'm undocumented citizen, undocumented immigrant. The left called them
saw
undocumented
it in Phoenix.
citizens.
Go to the Phoenix airport. You would
And the
see
pilots,
lines.
and these are pilots being like, whatever. So what about working for a large corporate airline shields you from being a smuggler? Nothing.
No.
Would you say the Border Patrol? Because I was at when I was in Yuma, those Border Patrol are loading them up on the vans, giving them rides to the airport.
Put them in jail.
Right. That's
and every one.
that's part of the smuggling.
Yes.
They were, and they go, but Biden told me to do it. I'm like, oh yeah, the smugglers over there, they have a boss too. Should we not arrest them?
Yeah.
Well, but their boss is a bad guy. How do you know? Their boss might be the mayor of a city.
Boss might be way better than Biden because what was going on was unbelievable. No, that border stuff, it was straight up human trafficking.
Oh, yeah.
Like 4 years of legal human trafficking.
And child human trafficking.
Absolutely.
Like hundreds of
Sexual
thousands
exploitation,
of
the
kids.
stuff that went on. How many kids are missing?
I mean, they said 300,000.
300,000. If they said
who knows?
300,000, who knows how many it really is? That's probably double at the very least.
Yeah, because there's some of those bridges on the border down there that are just covered in pictures of missing kids.
It's a disgrace. It's so sad. It's so sad.
It's evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kako is making the argument that a government worker who defies orders should be imprisoned. Yeah, that's actual fascism. I don't want to live in that country. I don't live in a country where you have a guy saying, like, let's say the task is rather mundane, because what we're talking about, the federal workers being fired, is a lot of these jobs are rather mundane, filing paperwork and reconciling expense reports. So a guy comes in and says, we got an expense report for, $17,000 for a trip that was done by a few delegates. I want you to reconcile it. And he goes, I'm not going to do it. They should arrest that person? That's insane to me. Yeah. You say, okay, get out. We'll get someone who will. You don't go to jail for that. Yeah. And there's a dramatic difference between that and someone being like, now imagine if the boss came in and says, we've got this expense report for a trip a few delegates took totaling $17,000, but I stole 13 of it. So I want you to write in there that 13 of it went to travel and expenses so that I don't go to jail. If that person goes, you got it, boss, then they should all go to jail.
Yeah.
Right.
That's flying a plane for a major corporation knowing you're smuggling illegal immigrants and being like, my boss told me to do it. You see the difference? Now, I'll tell you this. What if defying orders? What if the orders are illegal? Oh, well, now that's different. Okay, what if the person thinks the orders are illegal? You see, this is the problem. If someone doesn't want to do a job, you fire them. If somebody worked for an airline and a bunch of people came in who are clearly not illegal immigrants, they had those documents. They had folders that said, like, help, I'm an illegal immigrant. They didn't have IDs, and they were being let on these planes. If I was a pilot in that situation, I'd get up and be like, no. And they'd be like, you can't do that. We'll fire you. I'd be like, I'm not committing a crime. Are you nuts? Don't worry. This one's legal. Yeah, says you. Mm-hmm. Why would I expose myself to legal criminal liability in this regard? Should that person be fired or penalized for that? No, they should be given a medal.
Right.
So, yeah. There you go.
I don't have a problem with people going to jail or being investigated and prosecuted for
refusing to file an expense report.
No, for intentionally going out of their way to frustrate the orders of the president or of the organization they're working for.
But what does that mean? Because how would you codify that?
So if you're like I said that. The idea is malicious compliance. If you're doing something that you're told to do and you're doing it in a way that is actually going to produce results counter to whatever it is that you're trying to do.
You think people should go to jail for that?
Should get prosecuted. You should maybe not go to jail, but maybe you get fined. But there should be legal repercussions. Maybe they don't go to jail. Maybe they get put on maybe they get probation. Maybe it's not a felony. But there's nothing wrong with saying, okay, when it comes to the federal government, yeah, because you're trying to frustrate the will of the elected representative.
The difficulty there is in any way to prove intent with malicious compliance. Certainly, in some instances, you can, but that seems absolutely wild because a lot of these circumstances are going to be things like filing expense reports.
Fair enough, and so if you don't have
if you don't
have the evidence, fine.
Yeah, but I still think that's just absolutely insane. I mean, if we're talking about like we need these classified documents to be delivered to the office of the president now because there's a national security crisis, and they're told to go to room 101A, and they go to room 101A in the West Wing and go, oopsie daisies, and you're like, you intentionally withheld classified information in national security. That's absolutely different.
So you can't prove that.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about federal workers, which include like people who are like, the reason I say expense reports is a lot of these are bureaucrats who deal with like Form 1A being emailed to johnsmith. At whitehouse.gov. Yeah, and we're talking about putting people in prison for being like, I sent it to the email you told me to, but it was the wrong one.
I'm not saying that it necessarily requires prison.
Or I'm saying in any way prosecuting a person for malicious compliance to me is just absolutely insane. Mm-hmm. There are stories where it's like, there's a subreddit dedicated to this, r/malicious compliance. And so let's talk about what this would look like. In most of these stories, it is boss was stupid and wrong and told me to do thing, so I did it and it screwed things up. So a mid-level manager in a federal agency says, recently hired. There's a guy who handles tax paperwork and expense reports, and he's been there for 10 years. The new manager guy says, policy and procedure is that you do it this way. And they go, I'm not supposed to do it that way. I'm supposed to do it this way. And say, well, you're doing what I'm telling you to do. And they go, okay, if that's what you want, knowing that the instructions were wrong, they then send the files to the wrong email address, jamming up the functions of government, knowing it would happen. The idea that we would then be like, you should be criminally charged for doing that is insane to me. This is typically what these stories are.
Well, again, I'm not saying that it's every single instance that someone could possibly behave in that way should be prosecuted. But I think that having it as an option, I don't think there's anything.
So where do you think about this whistleblower I've been talking to with the FBI? She was a quality assurance auditor for the name check program. And years ago, she saw that there was all these discrepancies with names in the database, and they kept being certain names were kept in limbo during background checks. She went to her leadership. They said, literally fly under the radar, don't talk about it. She kept going back saying this is a problem. She believes that some of these things would lead to like a Thomas Crook situation where how there's so much incompetence with the security. Would the leaders, in your opinion, both you guys, all three of you, think that those people should be arrested or just fired for allowing discrepancies in a name check program? Right? Because what they're doing could lead to disasters.
So you're talking about people being lazy in the government?
Is it lazy or
is it criminal negligence?
Lazy incompetence, or is it
and again,
on purpose?
I think my point is just that there should be recourse possible, not that it's necessary.
let's say it's a Biden administration, and the CBP is instructed to start allowing all sex traffickers to transport children into prostitution and sex slavery, which literally they were doing.
Yep.
And then you've got government workers being like, I will not file this paperwork.
Right.
Are you kidding me? And then they get arrested and go to jail.
Well, again,
Or criminally charged or prosecuted because there's codified law saying the interference in public duties is a crime if you work for the government.
put that in front of a jury and see what the jury says. You know what I mean?
Have you seen a DC jury?
I'm not. Look,
It might look different now that everyone's looking.
Federal juries' conviction rates are like 97%.
These are hypotheticals, and your point about the federal about having 97% conviction rates, that would lead me to believe that the administration wouldn't want that to be put publicly. They wouldn't want that kind of heat. They wouldn't, because they don't want to. You can't guarantee that they're going to be.
They would raid the home of that person and plant a grenade. And then say, like, we found a weapon.
Okay, again, but these
because that also literally happened.
This is all hypothetical stuff. You know what I
my
mean?
point is, when I look at the cultural issues we deal with, there's the argument of the slippery slope goes in every direction. We want to make sure that we're fighting the moral battles where we draw the moral lines. Mm-hmm. What we don't want to do is codify in law a vague and nebulous statement like negligence of duty is a criminal offense. Because then that will be then they'll literally start arresting anybody who ever in any way tries to do the right thing if you get a corrupted machine.
Right. And maybe what I was asking, I would be okay with someone going to jail if they could actually draw a straight line from a tragedy to their quote unquote negligence.
I'm not even a fan of that.
Yeah.
Like, you look at what's going on with these gun manufacturers, and they're like, if someone buys your gun and then someone uses it in a tragedy, the gun manufacturer's at fault. Like, no, you're not.
Well, I'm saying if they let a name go through that didn't go through the proper channels in the name check database, and that person ended up becoming someone who caused harm.
I think the line would be, did they intentionally try to trigger an event, not are they bad at their job?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's part of the investigation. Is it incompetence or are they an accomplice?
And the issue is, if it wasn't incompetence, it's already illegal.
Yeah.
And then the question of the issue of government is that we have a lot of people who are bad or lazy, like they're bad at their jobs or they're lazy, and they're hard to fire because of unions and federal protections. Mm-hmm. They're getting fired now, and it is a very, very good thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think we want to live in a world where you can get fired for being bad at your job.
I agree.
Most you just said you don't want to
get arrested.
We get arrested. Yeah. Okay.
You can be charged, whatever it might be, because you're bad at your job. It has to be you intentionally damaged government property, intentionally obstructed government actions for the purpose of crime, not that you didn't show up for work one day, so we're charging you.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like the gist of what we're talking about is the people not responding to emails.
Yeah.
You don't respond to an email, you're saying, I'm not going to respond to the email, I refuse to do it. And that's what spawned the they should be charged question. So that to me is an absurdity.
So don't arrest everyone who doesn't respond to the email?
Oh, I didn't say arrest everyone who doesn't respond to the email.
You said they should be charged.
No, not for not responding to the email.
You said there was a woman who got an email and she said, I'm not going to respond to it. No, but these people should be fired.
Yes. And what I said is, this looks like somebody who's going to be very subversive within HHS. These are people that need to be thrown out and possibly charged if they're being subversive to the orders given by the president or by the agency head. Not for not responding to an email.
Right.
So that was two different things that got.
If you are actively damaging institutions of government as an infiltrator.
Yeah, we don't know what
I agree
active subversion is going on within that agency by people like her, by people like that. You don't know what they're doing or what they're not doing. You don't know what's going on.
So they should
not for the email. For the email, just throw her out. That's it.
Fire them all.
Fire her.
All right, everybody. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button? Share the show with everyone you know. Become a member. Join Rumble Premium. The uncensored members-only show will be coming up in about 23 minutes, where you as members get to call in and talk to us. Now, to watch the uncensored show, it's Rumble Premium. We also have the Green Room podcast, which is our early pre-show, uncensored. Today, I was talking with Joey and Chuck about having a kid. And basically, I walked in and everyone's like, so what happened? And I'm like, well, here's the story and how it all went. And I'm sure you want to hear it. So that's in the Green Room. Should be up any moment. And then if you want to call in, you join the Timcast.com Discord server, where you can hang out with like-minded individuals, over 20,000 people hanging out and talking every day. There's a fitness group. You want to lose weight? You want to make friends? There's one way to do it. You want to make video games? You want to launch a podcast? Tons of people who want to help you get the ball rolling. And you can call in and talk to us on our uncensored Rumble Premium call-in show. Let's grab your super chats. The deplorable Miss Drake says, I love that Trump appointed a pardon czar. Way too many people in this country are falsely imprisoned, still not tired of winning. Epic. The common neighbor says, congrats. Did you feel the rush of super dad strength? Indeed. I immediately felt like I could punch a bear.
That's right.
I always felt like I could punch a bear. I just don't think I'd survive. This time it was different. All right. Quantum Strange Quark says 5 bullet points. 1, stole from the taxpayer. 2, stole from the taxpayer. 3, stole from the taxpayer. You get where that's going. Jason Dixon says, congrats on the baby. You talked in the past about getting your game finished. Let It's Based Gaming take a look at it. Not through Ian. All right. I can get them in contact with your people. Give me a name. Ian is the people. Sorry, we don't have a game development mechanism here. We'll figure it out in the Discord. Maybe someone in the Discord who works here can help facilitate that. Michael Barr, can you give a shout out to the birth of my baby girl? Her name is Riley. She was born yesterday morning. It was a long journey to get to this moment. Indeed, good sir.
Congrats.
Congratulations. Congratulations. I know exactly how you feel. Well, not exactly, but similarly, as my child was born only a few days ago. All right, let's see. Durgal, is that what it says? Normally, I liked Elad. To be honest, I thought he was a good contrast until he advocated for tax on unrealized gains and made himself look ridiculous and uneducated. Yeah, I like Elad. We like Elad for his field reporting. It's very straightforward. He doesn't get overly emotional. He asks people the basic question and lets them give you an answer, so you're getting a better assessment of how they feel about things. But man, if that man does not understand taxes, holy crap, Elad. He literally has no idea how taxes work, what they are, what they're supposed to be. And I don't think he even understands what he wants. The issue with the debate we had, and then I guess, Phil, you had another debate with him later on.
Yeah, there was the call-in show, and people were calling in, and they wanted to talk to Elad about it. And essentially, I mean, I tried to make sure that I wasn't straw-manning his position and stuff, but as soon as we got to the point where I would get him to elaborate, he would get frustrated and say, well, we need some method to get to tax these people because it's such a small percentage of people, and they have so much blah, blah, blah. And
He's a communist. I'm not exaggerating. Elad he's not a neocon, he's a neoliberal. He's a expansionist, militaristic, pro-seizing of property, wealth, and equity. And he can't articulate it properly. And this is exactly what leftists and communists are. So I can break down for you everything I think about tax policy and law. It's very complicated. But in terms of like a wealth tax, why it doesn't work, why property tax is largely a failed system. And his response whenever these questions come up was literally just to go, I don't know. He's just got too much. It is of the left and the communists to say, I don't understand my position. I don't know how to solve my problem. I'm just angry someone has lots of money.
Yeah.
And then, we tried walking through, Elad, he doesn't have the cash. How would he pay taxes? I don't know. Okay, well, he can't then. So, for those that are wondering, the base of the conversation, because the point I do want to make is, he said, some people believe that these powerful, wealthy people are using loopholes to avoid paying taxes. And I said, whoa, hold on. There's no loopholes. That's not a thing. Loophole is not a thing. That's a made-up term by leftists to create the idea that rich people are not paying their fair share of taxes. And what does fair share mean? Literally, I don't know. But the Democrats and the left, they want you to believe that being wealthy is inherently wrong. So they say they're not paying their taxes by using a loophole. You then say, what's the loophole? And as Elad tries to explain, he owns equity in a company worth lots of money. And you're like, okay, well, that's just ownership in a company. That's not cash. And he says, I don't know. I don't care. We've got to do something. So when it comes to the actual argument, it breaks down completely.
Yeah. And that's without even getting into, the results from that kind of policy. The very first thing that would happen is if you were to do that, someone like Bezos is, well, they move. So now you can't tax them anymore.
All the money goes offshore.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
There's
with the
no money
U.S.
to tax.
passport,
Well, all the property, he would move, so that way he's not subject to the laws.
Oh,
so he
absolutely.
doesn't have to sell his property
well,
anymore.
this U.S. passport, you're taxed worldwide no matter where you go.
You'd get rid of it. It's
You
worth
would, exactly. You would
It's called
leave.
St. Kitts and Nevis.
Exactly.
That's where
exactly what you do.
They go to St. Kitts and Nevis and they buy passports because St. Kitts passports are used. They're very great passports.
Yes.
And then they say, I'm no longer American
You renounce
citizen.
the U.S., yeah.
Yeah, I think it's $50,000.
Wow.
To renounce?
No,
to get the
$50,000 to
passport.
buy
Absolutely.
citizenship.
Yes.
And
There's a few. There's Paraguay, there's Panama, a lot of different
almost
places.
all countries.
Yeah.
almost all countries have what's called economic citizenship.
Yes.
Or investment citizenship, where if you deposit a certain, it's really crazy. You deposit $1 million in a bank account in a country, they'll give you citizenship.
Yep. And it's
They're like-
usually much less than that, honestly, in a lot of these
Yeah,
countries.
some countries, well, the smaller ones, it's like 50 grand.
Paraguay is like the big thing now, and it's territorial tax. So a lot of people will just go, and it's so if you earn money from outside of Paraguay, you don't have to pay tax. You only earn on what you pay, what you get within the country. So I know tons of people, they're moving to Paraguay. Not so much Americans, because then you got to renounce American. People don't want to do that for family. Canadians, they're all running to Paraguay.
So let me just elaborate this for all the people out there going, no, there's loopholes. So Elad's argument was Bezos is worth $100 billion, but only pays taxes on $1 million, because worth dollars and income are two totally different things.
Yep.
The reason I say there's no loopholes is because Congress and your politicians at the state level pass a law saying you are required to pay X. Wealthy people go, okay, I'll pay X. And then leftists go, he's using a loophole. Well, what do you mean a loophole? I'm following the law as it was written down. And then they say, yeah, but you have imaginary money that you can't spend, so give it to me. That's Elad's position. And it's like, okay. Bezos isn't doing, the crazy thing is, I don't even understand why Elad is mad that Bezos is rich. Okay, why do you care that Bezos is worth $180 billion? No, like, honest question. What does that written down word in the newspaper mean at all to your life? And why are you mad at Bezos? Has he taken that $180 billion, liquidated it, not paid his taxes, and then, I don't know, funded a whole bunch of left-wing programs? No, because as soon as he liquidates the stock, he's got to pay taxes on it. Okay, so what's the loophole? He's not made money. What is he paying taxes on? Absurdities.
He has a problem with someone that has a net worth of that much, but that just means that he has a problem with people having property that
right. It's communism.
Them. Yeah.
I tried explaining this to him. If you're saying that Jeff Bezos has too much wealth because of the value of Amazon, because his wealth is tied to his equity in Amazon, and that he should be forced to pay against that, meaning he would have to sell some of his equity in the company, you are advocating for the seizing of the means of production from Jeff Bezos. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm like,
he's been in New York City too long. Yeah. Sounds like you should have a culture war with a lot in tax, tax person.
Do you guys know, this is how property tax works? Historically, a family in the United States would stake a claim on some land when it was like sparsely populated, draw their boundaries, like put up a fence or something. And then as urban areas and rural areas and suburban areas started to grow more densely populated, people started to say, hey, this is my property, that's your property. And so they started putting in markers. We started then setting up in the government, hey, we're going to draw the lots up. You claimed this, he claimed this. It used to be, it was really crazy. You could claim a few acres for a farm, and then there'd be someone, a neighbor, and there's gaps in between your properties that neither of you use that was claimed by no one. Now, with population so dense, ownership of land is getting more difficult. What ends up happening is when they introduce property taxes, this is how the government seizes the lands from the American people. We should abolish property taxes 100%. Everybody give me a 1 in the chat if you think we should abolish property taxes. I'll tell you why. These historic families take a claim, let's say it's 100 acres, and they set up a farm, and it's the year 1620. Their kids live there, they give them the farm. Their kids grow up, they give them the farm. The year is now 1943 or whatever, and the county comes in and says, we're going to charge property tax on this 100 acres, which is worth X. You have to give us cash based on the size of your lot. The family goes, but we're just poor farmers. We don't make no money. We just grow food and eat it. And they say, sell an acre and use that money to pay your taxes. And they go, all right, I guess. So they sell one of their 100. Someone buys it, builds a house, and they use that money to pay their taxes for the year. Mm-hmm. Every year they sell 1 acre to cover the cost of the property taxes, reducing the property. And you can actually look at property maps and see how this has been done across the country. Wow. How the government has effectively been destroying ownership rights of land through property taxes. Take a look at any semi-rural area that's going suburban. You can, every state has like a property lookup, and you can look up the properties and see. And what you'll find is there's interesting plots of land with lines that seemingly, like, you'll see a road here, and like you'll see like 2 roads or 4 roads, 1 down here, 2 here, and 1 in the middle. A big plot of land right in the middle, and then a line cutting through it, and single acre lots all alongside it. And if you go back far enough, you'll be like, that used to be a single plot. The roads were around it because it was a single person's plot, and they were forced to sell off their property piece by piece because the government was taxing them on something that didn't make money for them.
It's happening all over West Virginia right now. This whole area, the country, the farmland is completely gone. and these houses are like growing out of the ground overnight. It's crazy. They don't have enough hospitals for these people.
Out here. So by us, there's massive developments going on. So we're in the eastern panhandle of West Virginia, and you can actually see how these developers came in. And this one I'm fine with. Developers went in and went to property owners who owned like 200 acres. It was in their family for generations. And they said, we'll buy it off you. That's totally fine. I'm going to buy your land. You're going to be rich and you can leave. And they say, okay, I'll do that. The problem is the property tax system creates pressure on these people to where the developer walks in and says, look, I'm going to give you $1 million for your rural acreage. It's worth nothing. You don't got the money to pay your property taxes. So if you sit on this and don't take this deal, you're going to have to start parceling off your property every year to pay the taxes, or you can sell it to me right now and be a millionaire. And so they say, well, our 7th generation farm is now sold to the developer. And what's it turn into? A bunch of McMansions.
Yeah. Also, the amount of eminent domain cases that happen where they're building a highway and just take a piece of your farm.
Yeah.
Like we're just cutting
Do you know about that little triangle in New York where they eminent domained they built a highway, and then it sliced through a guy's whole building and they seized it from him, except for a little tiny like 4-inch triangle, which is now on the ground with a placard saying owned by this guy and never apportioned for public use.
Wow. I lived at the bottom of a mountain where a town called Doodletown used to be founded after, like, before the revolution. And up until the 1960s, these people lived up there. And the government came through and said, we're going to build a ski slope here. Kicked everyone out. And they never built the ski slope.
Wow.
And all the people from Doodletown came down to our town. And it's a ghost town. I go
Doodletown?
Doodletown, yeah. Like Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yep.
All right. Kenneth Hart says, Tim, thanks for being here. Now go home and play video games while your kid naps on your chest. It's awesome. Trust me, I know. Mm-hmm. You know what's the most interesting thing is that I learned that they actually technically are talking the moment they're born.
Really?
It's not that they're saying words. It's that there's guttural grunts and noises which are easily communicable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They communicate.
They do. Absolutely. It like obviously crying is communication, but there's like,
I'm
like
hungry.
Yeah, there's sounds where you're like, I know what that means.
Yep.
Like, and then facial expressions, all reflexive and innate. Yeah, it's like, wow.
Yep.
It's like the communication starts instantly. Humans are born very early relative to other animals, but beings of this earth, like we've got stuff in us, instinct, reflex, etc. One thing that's really cool is blind people who are blind since birth, when they win, raise their fists in the air, indicating it is an instinctive it's an instinct and reflex of accomplishment, because they did not learn to do that behavior by watching someone else do it.
Right.
There's a bunch of things like that. Humans just do.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? All right, let's see. What do we got? Shane Wilder says, welcome back, Tim. Congratulations on the birth of your baby. I hope mother and child are doing well. Let's go. This is forwarding the line. Indeed. Yeah, I slept decently well.
Nice.
Baby woke up every few hours crying. Allison is very strong and doing a great job, and admittedly taking a lot of the responsibilities to make sure baby is okay, because she knows that I'm doing 2 shows every day and we've got a big staff in the company. And I am indebted and very lucky to be with Allison. She's fantastic. I'm also really lucky that we're like very similar people and we grew up in a similar way and we like a lot of the same things, and man, very lucky to have all that. Let's grab some more super chats. Horsehead says, Tim, any chance of having Dan on the show again before he starts the new position? Sounds like Bongino's show will continue for now. Right, yeah, so I guess he's going to keep doing the show until he does leave for that job, which is going to be somewhat soon. And then I don't know if he's going to have a host take the show over. He should have someone host show in his absence.
He never had any co-hosts, did he?
He's got a couple people in like the network, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Who can fill in for him, which is normal. But it's not the same, man.
No,
he knows it.
No.
And I hope people realize, would you be willing to? I mean, maybe we're a different breed. But if someone said, I'll give you $20 million a year for the rest of your life, plus equity in the company, he's a big shareholder in Rumble, you will want for nothing, you will have private jets, or you can give it all up to go and work a civil service job for $200,000 a year. How many people are going to be like, I'll take it?
I mean, so I get what you're saying, but he does, like, for me, I don't have any kind of qualification that would put me in a position and especially like Dan Bongino, it does have like a very, very narrow qualification. And like we were saying earlier, I legit believe he does love the country. He does believe that the law enforcement agency, the FBI, has been on the wrong track and been doing things that are contrary to what, the FBI should be doing. So, I mean, if I were in his position, because he's not losing his equity stake in or any he's not losing any property, right? He's going his show
No, he's
is
losing between 10 and 30 million dollars of cash every year.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that,
Like,
but
bro, that's 200-foot yacht money.
but he's already got tons of money.
Yeah.
And he's got tons of, he's
So,
it's not like he's
hold on there,
Donald Trump's
Elad.
Yeah, I was just
Don-
gonna
His
say,
equity
man.
in Rumble is not cash. He can't spend.
fair enough.
And if he liquidates, it would. If Dan Bongino announced, I don't need the money because I can liquidate my Rumble stock, then the stock would become worthless.
Yes.
So
I
I do understand he's a very wealthy individual, but that doesn't change the fact that he's like cash and hard wealth are totally different.
I mean, I conceive of this in the same way that Donald Trump did it, right? Donald Trump was worth billions of dollars,
Yeah.
and then he went to be the president, and he doesn't even take a salary, or he didn't. Maybe he does now, but he didn't for the first
agree.
4 years. And I kind of equate it to that now. And then trying to relate that to myself, I don't have that kind of specialized knowledge, specialized that kind of job, that I just don't have that. So I can't
people,
relate.
It's a great sacrifice.
people are chatting. He's set already, and I'm like, nah.
I personally,
How old is he? Is he? How old is
Is he
he?
late 40s?
Yeah, he still has a lot of time left.
I personally want nothing to do with the government, but I watched his live stream earlier, and like he
50.
clearly wants to be like that was an emotional thing for him. He wants to be a part of it, So
I know.
for him, it
It's his
seems
passion.
awesome.
It's the
Yeah.
stuff he's been talking about. Now he gets to go and not just talk about it. He gets to go tackle it, like take it down directly.
But that's what-
And
that's-
it's 4
that-
years.
that's what I'm saying.
And in 4 years, he'll be back and he can do what he's doing now.
Well, maybe it's not 4 years.
No, well,
Yeah.
well, yeah, that's true. If Vance or somebody
Or
else,
anybody. If the Republicans
that's
win
true.
again,
he could stay.
and they want cash to remain in,
Right.
and Dan to stay
True.
in, he
Yeah,
could stay.
'cause you're right. Actually, FBI used to be a 10-year term.
But it's deputy director.
Exactly. No,
It's
exactly.
appointed by the director.
No, you're right. You're right.
They might be like, you're the greatest we've ever had. Stay, please. We need
True.
you.
True.
I,
He's a patriot. That's it. It's the end of the story. He's a patriot.
I do agree with the idea of like, he is wealthy, he'll be wealthy forever. No, I totally understand that. But there's more than money.
Yeah.
Dan has tremendous social capital and influence as one of the biggest. He has consistently the biggest live show in the world every day. Just like you look at his concurrent view. It's to give up. It's not even just about the cash. It's the influence and the celebrity. He fights so hard to build up this channel to be influential. And the concerning thing is, stepping away from this position could have potentially opened the door for the left to move in, gain more influence, and then oust or harm the populist movement. So there's a tremendous risk and sacrifice in going to do this job right now.
Can he not do like a weekly update on his show?
I
Be
bet
like,
he could.
this is what I've been seeing this week, to the degree he can.
To the degree he can, he might be able to come in and give consistent updates.
Be pretty cool.
But I know people who work in government since the Trump administration got in, and the general attitude is like, there's policies and procedures for what we can and can't talk about. We don't want to talk about things that could compromise the work we're doing. So we typically don't. And it's like, I don't know, mad respect to Dan Bongino. You can tell that this is his true passion.
Oh, yeah.
And what I love about this the most is that every single thing he said on his show has just been backed up. He was tested and he passed.
Yeah.
When it came time and it said, hey, you've been talking big game, he says, I'll take the job.
Yeah.
It's like, you're going to give up $20 million, $30 million? He's like, yeah, because this is what I've been talking about the whole time. Now's my chance to actually do something. I'm excited, man.
Yeah.
I can't believe Dan Bongino. It's so
unbelievable.
amazing.
It's I do not think he would disappoint. I really do not think he would disappoint.
Yeah, I agree.
These are Cash, Bongino. These are real patriots. They've been talking about this forever. So they can't disappoint. I mean, they'll lose all their credibility, so they won't do it.
It's not about, well,
They won't do it.
I agree. I don't think it's about their credibility.
Yeah.
I don't think they're worried about reputation. I think they're both going like, let's roll.
Yeah, they're more excited than we are. Trust
I
me.
bet.
They're more excited to get in and do this than we're excited to see it.
I just want you to just imagine Cash and Dan jumping in there and high-fiving each other and then freeze frame.
Yeah. Let's
Let's roll. Yo, I'm so excited. All right. Well, what do we got? Katana Flair says, Tim, congrats on the baby, but missed the chance to name your baby Timantha Deadpool But if you have a son later, Ryan Reynolds Poole, LOL. Well, why would I do that?
I don't know if that name's so popular right now.
Yeah. Tanner Tate says, I quit trusting Dan Crenshaw years ago when I went to the World Economic Forum website and saw him pictured as one of their notable members of the Young Global Leaders Initiative. So was Tulsi Gabbard. Right. And the story there was that it was an editorial written by the World Economic Forum without the participation of the individuals. They were simply saying, these people are rising in politics. I would imagine it more as a notice to their members of who they were looking to buy, not anyone who was actively bought. So Tulsi was like, hey, get me out of that. I don't want to be involved in that. Yes. All right, what have we here? We'll grab a couple more. Lovey Dovey says, wow response Tim just did. What is that about? Jason Dixon says, I own so much land. If they drop the tax, I'll make millions. If you owning the land, like owning land that can be used. So like if you own a farm in a rural area and they're taxing you and you're like, do I have $300,000 to build a house? No. Okay, well, you can't rent it. Do you want to try and rent an empty lot? You could parcel out and try and rent it. Who's going to buy it? For what? It's not so easy. And then the taxes are high. And what happens is as developers are coming in, the prices are going up. Now your taxes are going up before you have an opportunity to utilize your property for anything meaningful if you don't have the investment. So this basically just takes the land from poor people and breaks it up and destroys generational wealth. All right. EC3 says, Shane, you, me, and Billy on the culture war, and we'll get to the bottom of this lizard story. No redaction.
Shout out EC3, pro wrestler. Amazing dude.
No
Let's
redaction.
do that, please.
I'm a big fan of Smashing Pumpkins and Billy Corgan. He's fantastic.
It's one of the best.
All right, my friends, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know, become a member of Join Rumble Premium. So you can watch the Uncensored Call-In show coming up in about a minute. And don't forget, we got a bunch of, we got a couple full-length documentaries. Rumble.com/Timcast IRL. Use promo code TIM10 or just go to timcastpremium.com to sign up. The Uncensored Call-In show will be starting soon on Rumble.com. It's very fun. You don't want to miss it. Joey, you want to shout anything out?
Well, my Twitter is Joey Mannarino US, and thank you all for tuning in tonight. This is great. Thank you for having me, Tim.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, it was a fun one. You can find me online at Shane Cashman. The show is Inverted World Live every Sunday at 6 o'clock. We'll see you there.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. You can subscribe to my page there. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. New record dropped on January 31st. It's available on YouTube, Apple Music, Pandora, Spotify, Deezer, Amazon Music. Don't forget, The Left Lane is for Crime.
So I'll just say, if you're curious about the having of the baby and all that stuff, we talked about it a bit on the green room. A lot of private details are kept, hush hush. But if you want to hear the story, rumble.com/Timcast IRL. The green room episode will be up. And I think 10 minutes in, I showed up.
Mm-hmm. You were in about even less. I think 5 minutes. You were in pretty quick.
I was hanging out with the baby. We were feeding the baby, and so I waited a long time.
Right.
And then you guys were talking.
Yes.
Answered a bunch of questions, talked for about 10 or so, 15 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
And all the information, all details are there. We're going to go to that members only uncensored call-in show right now. So for everybody who's on YouTube, that'll be on Rumble for premium members only, and we'll see you all there.